Your altar?
I do. I have it down here.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I wanted to put it on here, but I wasn't
All
going
right,
to
everyone, we're going to call the meeting to order. Beverly, can you take roll, please?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Chairman O'Halloran.
Here.
Mr. Emerson.
Hello.
Dr. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Stone.
Present.
Ms. Odell.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
I'm here.
Mr. Lakakis. Mr. Cody.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, and you're doing the inspirational. All right, we're going to do the inspirational opening. It's going to be Michael Brown.
Okay.
So for the inspirational opening for our board meeting, in celebration of Black History Month, I chose 5 quotes, short quotes from African Americans. First quote: hold fast to your dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Langston Hughes. No person is your friend who demands your silence or denies your right to grow. Alice Walker. Darkness cannot drive out darkness.
Yeah.
Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Martin Luther King Jr. You can only become truly accomplished at something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things that you love doing, and then do them so well that people can't take their eyes off you. Maya Angelou.
Yeah, I knew it.
And then the last one: change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Barack Obama. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, we're going to move to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the minutes? Any changes? Peter? Peter,
Mr. Lakakis, right here, sir.
we've got you in a new seat. I'm sorry, any discussion or changes on the minutes? How are you, sir?
Good.
Hearing no corrections, can I
Yeah.
have a vote on
Yeah.
approval of the minutes?
Yeah.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? It's unanimous. Presentations. Ms. Dennis.
Hey. Yeah. I like this better.
Good morning. The planning department was requested that we give a presentation on ridership and national trends. Again, my name is Bren Dice, and I'm the new planning manager. My name is hiding in there, so hopefully I didn't do too much text.
No.
Very good. This first slide is nationwide ridership trends. Researchers believe that the nation likely peaked in transit in 2014, but in 2017 you can see bus ridership attained its lowest point since about 1990, which is the oldest ridership data from APTA. So it's broken up here by bus, rail, and all modes. And then we'll get down into, maybe I'm pushing in the wrong direction. Uh-huh. Okay, thank you. This next slide is us. There's a slide for you. Okay.
There we go.
This next one is CAT. In 2018 to 19, Estimated riders for fixed route did rise about from 3.04 million to 3.1 million. So that'll give you a little bit of an idea of what we're doing. And this next slide shows us in relation to other organizations. I chose 8 other communities based on similar operating environments and service characteristics, such as metropolitan area population, percent of population living in a dense area, and percent of zero vehicle households and transit operating expenses. You can see that in fixed route from 2014 to 2019, most everyone decreased their ridership. But if you look over here, the second one in is the city of Huntsville, Alabama. That one rose by 16.7%. You can see that they're pretty small, so I gave them a call and said, hey, what's going on? That your ridership is rising when all the rest of our riderships are decreasing. And in 2011, Huntsville, Alabama did a comprehensive operational analysis that they implemented in 2012. They did not change their service from 2012 to 2018, and in 2018 they did an additional comprehensive operation analysis and implemented that in 2019. They're a small organization. They have about 11 routes, 13 peak buses. Yes, ma'am.
I guess this is more a comment. So they did a study. They implemented the study, and their ridership went up.
Yes.
What was the study? Yeah, that would be the question.
It was a comprehensive operational analysis of their entire system, and then they were recommended to change their operating system.
They changed the operating system for the administrative process?
No, for the routes and the ridership.
And who did they use?
I do not remember the name of the company. I have it written down. I can get that for you.
I appreciate it.
Was it?
And I'd like to know
Nelson Nygaard?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And
Jay.
do you know what methodology they
Nelson
use?
Nygaard.
Nelson Nygaard.
I do not exactly know.
I'd like to.
So Nelson Nygaard was one of the national firms that bid on our current RFP or our current redesign.
Brent, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Do these numbers for for this slide and the previous slide, did they include our contracted services with the city of SNC?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Can we get a copy of that study?
Yes.
It's on your computer.
It's on there? Okay.
The Huntsville one?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the slide. I apologize.
Yep, Nelson Nygaard is a top-rated system redesign firm, and Jared Walker, the firm that we selected for our system redesign, worked for Nelson Nygaard for a number of years before he broke away and started his own company. So those are 2 top system redesign firms in the country, very highly.
I appreciate it, but I'm concerned with seeing that report.
Yeah, I'd like to see
I
if
think
they
everybody
cut,
should.
if they cut routes or if they just
Yeah,
redesigned
it's probably all
times.
on their website, but yeah, we can get that for you.
I think
So
that'd
we
be
can get
great. I
Brenda
think
to
every
ask
board
them
member should
for,
look at it.
yeah, we can get Brenda to ask them for a copy of both of the comprehensive operational analysis.
Sounds good. I'll
You
reach
don't
out
know
to
any
them.
specifics of that study, I suppose.
I don't.
I'd be real curious to know.
That's why I wanna see the
Yeah, I
study.
know, but I think everybody should look at it.
If it's anything like Jared Walker's, it's an extensive amount of material that you
Yes.
need to go through. It's not a couple of pages.
Might have to set up a Dropbox.
Couple of hundred.
We probably will.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if
What's
it
the name
could
of
be
the trans-
incorporated in one of our
Memphis.
workshops.
Yep, we can do that.
I mean, maybe
Huntsville,
that's a better
Alabama?
idea.
Oh, I thought you said that.
And what's the name of the transit authority?
It is, it's not a transit authority, it's a department in their city,
Okay, so it's a part of the
and
city.
it is their public transportation division.
So it's public transportation for Huntsville, Alabama.
Yep.
I would almost guess that there's a link on the city of
I'm about to
Huntsville's
look at it right
website, but we will get that link and get that document for the board.
I mean, this could be something very advantageous for a workshop.
Yeah, well, we did the Jared Walkers. And a
Well, I
lot of
know,
that.
but some of the board members that are here now weren't there.
We should probably look at our Jared Walker information too, since we had them do most of the information that the same group did for Huntsville.
I think the suggestion of maybe looking at both of them, you know, side
That
by
can be.
side, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a perfect suggestion.
But keep in mind though, ours is gonna be, specific to our
Right.
service.
But
So
I
we
thought,
comparatively
these
speaking.
were selected because they were kind of close to us.
We just put the RFP out and the that's who responded.
No, I'm just saying her presentation,
Oh.
the selection process was folk that were pretty close to us, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, so if we review
Yeah.
their comprehensive operational analysis, I would expect to see the same types of analysis done by Nelson Nygaard that Jared Walker did, and then the same results, the only difference being the nature of Huntsville's traffic patterns and needs to ours. But it would be very useful because the process to redesign a system is the same, and firms have different recommendations and interpretations. So we can surely get that report and make it available alongside the Let's Go report from Jared Walker and allow that comparison and discussion.
Can I ask you a question? Because, I was trying to look at all these graphs and all these colors and, it's a whole lot of stuff. We're talking about Huntsville, but then help me understand about, was that Sarasota County area trends, which had 26.4%, which seemed to me to be a larger increase than the city of Huntsville. Am I reading that correctly?
No, that one's actually a down arrow. So Sarasota County went down 26%.
So
Whereas
you got an arrow, I got dots.
Huntsville, oh, I'm sorry about that. That could be the confusion. Everybody in this group went down except for Huntsville, Alabama, and they had their ridership increase.
Okay, yeah, because we have dots and not arrows. Okay.
Everybody.
Did they have
a
an increase in population? Did they have an initiative for people to stop driving? What happened? Did they get a new employer in town?
The city population is growing, but again, they did not change their service from 2012 to 2018. And the gentleman I talked to didn't think that was a huge factor, but certainly did talk about, that they're a small organization. Again, they have 13 peak buses, 11 routes, and they just really.
It would seem like somebody had somewhere to go.
Right.
So they started,
They just started helping get there.
Right,
Well, it's also a much smaller community, size-wise.
It's also municipality
acreage-wise.
versus a county.
right, but
So they may have
for
a
that
couple
big
of
of an
crisscross.
increase, it would seem like, is there a new employer? Like, what facilitate, it had to be something that facilitated people leaving the house.
A new employer wasn't really brought up. Certainly, we could look into it to see.
Huntsville is driven by NASA and aerospace industry.
Because 16% is, that's a.
I bet you $1 it was high frequency and a focus on ridership.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I bet you $1 more that it was a city municipality versus a county. So it's a whole different ball game as far as chemistry is concerned too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, might be a 3-acre city compared to
Right.
52 acres in
Right.
Chatham County.
Correct.
Right.
So we have
So
$2 on the table.
That's why they're not really comparable.
I'll add my dollar on this side.
I would look at the Birmingham, Jefferson County as the model that's closest to ours.
I agree.
As
I
far
agree.
as size and shape,
I agree.
and possibly
Which
Central
one is?
Arkansas Transit.
Okay.
Plus 16% on 10,000 people is different from 16% on
Yes, it is.
300,000 people. Big difference.
Yeah.
But they still did something to increase.
I'm not knocking.
But she just said that they didn't do anything to change.
No, I know, but they employed a study, and they followed the study. So, there's something to be said for that.
But we need to find out if there was a new employer or something, because that would greatly impact it. A new employer, if they added employees to NASA, new projects, something.
Well, they basically did a redesign on their system, which is what we proposed, and we didn't.
So are we saying that none of these other transit systems have done a redesign?
Well, I know Jacksonville did.
And they still went down?
Yep. The trend is down.
Okay, so the
There's
redesign.
one maybe exception in that city of Huntsville.
Right, so the redesign will not necessarily increase ridership.
There's no guarantee of that.
Right,
It can either increase ridership or decrease cost.
right.
What it will do, though, it will improve our on-time performance, and it will improve our schedules and our reliability.
What will do that now?
The
Redesign.
Yeah, but that
But
also.
that's a whole separate
but that
discussion.
also
Yes.
Yes.
I
It's
don't
talking
think
about
this is
cutting
the
out
time for it.
routes.
No, without cutting out routes.
I'm a follow.
Let's wait and do that
Can
on
we
the
allow the
workshop
young
and
lady to
let-
finish her
Yeah.
presentation?
Yeah, that's what I was
I
gonna say.
apologize. We should allow you to finish your presentation.
Only because we're getting into the weeds here with stuff that we need a lot more time than a board meeting to go
That's
through.
fine.
There you go.
And it's working now?
It's working. Thank you.
That's the one thing I can't
We were
tell
helping
with
you
the-
out there, by the way.
Yes, perfect. Gave us enough time. I also did an analysis on paratransit and found that while some communities are decreasing their ridership, we are increasing, as y'all know. So what makes their numbers go down when our numbers go up? I got to chat with Jacksonville a bit. They do have a travel training program. Their functional assessment they have been working on. In Jacksonville, you can see went down 0.4% in their paratransit. I have calls out to Sioux City and Nashville and did not hear back from either one of those organizations, but I will keep you updated when I hear back on those. I'm in charge of the clear now. Factors for decline. So why is the nation in general declining in ridership for fixed route? Lower gas prices do have an impact. They're not a huge impact, but certainly the strong economy, including cheap auto loans, plays a factor. Recent surge in technology that negates the need for additional trips. We know that I can sit in my living room and I can work, I can shop, and I can get food delivered to my house in my pajamas, so I don't need to be out as much. And transportation network companies, those Lyft and Uber, they're certainly making an impact in MSAs with smaller population sizes. Interestingly enough, studies show that in communities with larger population sizes, the TNCs actually help to increase their ridership. And I'm not sure if that's what that's about, but we'll talk about it a little bit in a minute. Also increase in bicycling, walking, and electric scooter use. And those were economic factors. This next list is a little bit of the built environment that attributed to ridership decline. Parking availability, it is increasing, and there's an unbalanced investment in infrastructure. Between 2010 and 2019, the U.S. built some 28,500 miles of arterial roads and just 1,200 miles of transit services. So we are really investing in the automobile in this country. As far as shifting populations and residential location choices, that one's a little bit slower to show a huge impact, but it certainly is obvious that despite a brief trend in the other direction, suburbs are outpacing urban cores in growth nationwide. Then we talk about transit service cuts that could be a factor in decline. Vehicle revenue miles and hours, the cost of services, and the quality of services. Quality is looking at speed, reliability, and comfort. Reliability is associated often with deferred maintenance. And then we get into this cyclical thing where lower ridership equals lower fare box revenues, which forces agencies to cut routes and defer maintenance projects, which in turn results in fewer passengers.
Do our buses look like other cities who have good transportation? Like, are our buses attractive enough to attract people?
It's a good question. I think
What do you mean,
so.
like the color scheme?
No, not just the color scheme, but when you're in the bus, like cleanliness, like is it cool, is it warm? Like the buses in Seattle, you really want to ride them.
I've always felt very comfortable in a cat bus.
And I just recently. I know, but are ours as attractive as places that have
high participation in public transportation?
I'd say I've experienced higher and worse, better and worse. I mean,
Because I think that might be something that we should think about when it's time to start changing buses. I mean, when we buy a new bus, are we buying an attractive bus? Like, is it a Yugo or is it a Honda? I'm not actually asking for a BMW, but maybe we shouldn't be in a Yugo. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 manufacturers, and everyone buys from the same manufacturers, and they're pretty similar as far as the interior of the buses. I mean, you can get upgrade here or there, but it's pretty much the same as far as the way the bus is laid out.
Because I mean, I think that might be something to attract people to it, that they feel, comfortable or.
I found them to be very acceptable.
Yeah, but we're biased.
No, but
So
I've ridden them in other places,
Yeah.
but I've found them to be very acceptable.
And we've got Wi-Fi now on the buses, and that's really.
Yes. I'm just saying, we're biased. I'm just asking, is that something that we take into consideration?
Yes, with the new electric bus orders, I'm remembering a standard bus price that we upgraded to include some of the more techno-savvy options. We considered screens, we considered,
USB port.
yeah, so we have, with the new bus purchases, tried to include all of the options
Okay.
that we could afford to buy.
Thank you. USB ports are excellent.
Yep.
We were just trying to get plugs here.
Yep.
Yeah, the
So
board
with the
room should
new
be an
orders,
indication we
we're
need to
trying
correct
to
it.
be able to afford the best possible amenities for our passengers with the money we have.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you, everybody.
Now, hopefully it gets more people on the bus.
I think that should be part of our information that we share. We have ports. Everybody's always trying to charge a phone.
So what can we do about this declining ridership? I think there are opportunities to work with the TNCs. We can work with technology-enabled service that can fill transit gaps, serve that as that last mile connection, and provide support during emergencies. It can also be more cost-effective sometimes for seniors and ADA. And communities are also working to create potential policies. The policies could include monitoring the impact of technology on travel behavior, just like we were talking about a little bit, redefining transit's roles as mobility options change, and positioning transit to address emerging issues. I found a really great quote in the Understanding Ridership Trends in Transit study in 2019. The quote said, "Transit has not gotten worse, the other options have gotten better." So then our job is to find new ways to be more competitive. So additional opportunities for transit providers. For higher transit use, we can do discounted passes and focus on transit benefits such as reliability and safety. Those transit benefits have correlated in other communities with higher transit use. Upgraded technology, certainly improvements in real-time information, has been shown to boost transit ridership as well. And expanding partnerships. How can we work with organizations, other communities, institutions, community organizations, employers, getting all those folks at the table with us. One of my favorites, because of my background, better coordination of land use and transit planning. My background is in land use planning. So really gathering information and working with the land use folks in this area to concentrate development in cities and town centers and less rural sprawl in the remote areas.
When a project comes before the MPC of a certain scale, are there any triggers that we have where Chatham Area Transit is part of who's looking at that at an initial basis?
MPO.
I I'm not positive what triggers happen at the MPC. However, we are looking at all of the applications that go through there. And
So all the applications, all the notifications.
and certainly want to be represented when one is relevant to us.
Because I'm guessing that they're all relevant to us. And we've seen numerous times that large projects of scale, mainly residential projects, that are marketed as affordable housing are built very far away, and we don't find out about those until, far too late. And I think if there was a way where that didn't happen, possibly through an ordinance change or an upgrade to new zone or the county's CO, would be very helpful in making sure that CAT is by law at the start of the conversation, at every conversation. Because I think that's the biggest one, is land use and transit.
If you look at every rezoning or ordinance change or development plan that goes before the MPC, there's an aspect for public transportation, and it will actually even say where the nearest stops are and how far they are from the transit service on every report that they have.
Okay, that's great.
But I think what you were saying, but those stops are there, but what if it's not meeting the needs, it could be too far away. So some part
Too
of the
far
plan.
away, is it high frequency?
Right.
I mean, I think that would be, because that's probably, I think, one of the more interesting opportunities for CAT moving forward, and to also kind of be the conscience of the MPC and the city of higher density, because the sprawl will kill us.
And I think one of the conversations we've had too is how do we get those SCAD students on CAT?
They have their own
They have
bus.
their own
Yeah, I know, but how do we get them on CAT?
We can't. Their bus is
Free.
free and it's
Specific.
customized specifically for them, and they go out of their way to make sure they get what they
building.
yeah.
Yeah.
At one time, we were headed towards a CAT taking over the SCAD system, and then SCAD backed out.
Oh, wow.
But that might go into
How long has that
understanding
system
why customers choose different options.
First time we talked about it with them was 14 or 15. So from memory, I would approximate that to be about the time that the vendor came in.
That was when it changed.
First transit
It's
team.
like 5
Yeah,
it's
so
like 5 years.
like initially the buses were white and they weren't there one day and they were very visible the next. And for a while, the public was thinking that they were our buses, and that's what I'm remembering. And I want to think it was 13, 14, 15 maybe.
So
I know
just
the
fine.
last conversation I remember with the leadership of SCAD was 2016.
Personally, as a board member, I'm very interested in seeing and supporting more coordination between land use agencies and this agency as well. So if that does come up, very likely, very supportive of it.
Also, we can gather information, better understanding of why customers choose other options, understanding what kinds of trips people are making, can provide further insight into relationships between TNCs and traditional transit and in today's economy and society. In conclusion, there's no simple formula or table as to why transit agencies are declining and what they should do. The answers are agency specific and rethinking the role of public transportation. Yes, sir.
One last thing on the graphs. I love the graphs. Love a good graph.
Multicolored.
I know, just colors, visual. I mean, you can get a good idea of what's going on here. I think it would be helpful for us to see, especially for the first one, just ridership, breaking that down between our contracted services and the non-contracted services, specifically the Forsyth route. Because I think that's doing a lot of work for our ridership.
Hold on.
It's driving the total increase
Yeah.
year over year,
I know.
month over month to the ridership. It's
Yes.
that Forsyth route.
And I think we should, I'd like to see that.
But
Right, that one.
remember, that's free and it's used predominantly by
Okay.
visitors to the city.
Yeah,
It has
it's dot,
10-minute
okay, I-
frequencies.
And that's why I think
Frequencies,
it's
yeah.
important that we see it
Yep.
on here.
I agree.
That is on there somewhere. Oh, not
Well,
on
it's
that,
mixed in the whole
not on
thing.
that one, but on our further down reports, it does list the
Or
top
light
shuttle
blue.
and ridership. Any other questions for Brent?
Great job. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we'll be checking back with you. I'm sure we'll have some more questions.
Sounds good. I wrote down all your notes, so we'll follow up.
Good job.
Okay.
All right, moving right along to action items. Mike?
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Like, we went out of there.
So the first action item is to request the board approval for a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between the city of Savannah and CAT for the provision of St. Patrick's Day shuttle and fare-free fixed route service. Since 2011, CAT has provided St. Patrick's Day shuttle service for 3 locations: Savannah Mall, West Side Shopping Center, and Island Town Center to downtown Savannah. The shuttle service is cost neutral, with revenues coming from the city of Savannah as well as passengers. The city of Savannah will pay CAT a flat fee of $10,560 for shuttle service, fare-free fixed route, and fare-free fixed route on March 17th, 2020, with an additional fare-free fixed route on Saturday, March 14th, for a total flat fee of $14,580.
Will that cover all of our costs?
You can't ask a question until after.
Yes, so I have a motion, we accept the MOU.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
Sorry.
discussion, go ahead, Tabitha.
Will that cover all of our costs?
Yeah.
So the plan is for fares received by the passengers plus the subsidy from the city to cover total cost. Over the last few years, with the fixed fee plus fares, we've actually covered costs in 2 of the 3 years. There were some fixed asset purchases one year that put us just a little bit over, but over time, that will change. Some crowd control and some advertising mechanisms one year put us close to breaking even, but fares plus the fee plus the 100% subsidy for the free fare days covers the cost.
It covered it. Except
In
1 year.
9 out of the last 10 years, yes ma'am.
Okay, so you anticipated covering it this year?
Yes, the fixed assets that were purchased because of the crowd control and security issues for our regular passengers are being used year over year. So the investment 2 years ago will not have to be repeated. But we found that this one-day influx of visitors and non-normal passengers was creating security issues and crowd control issues for our everyday passengers, and we felt like investment in those fixed assets in order to help that day be less inconvenient for them was worth the few $1,000s that we were out that first year.
Any other questions?
How much are we expecting on generating from tickets?
On a non-weekend day, it can run between $9,000 and $11,000. For the weekend days, depending on the weather, it can be 15 to 20,000 fares. We lowered the
that makes
budget
sense,
by
'cause I was like-
$7,000 this year because it's on a Tuesday instead of a Saturday.
Because I was looking at that number and I was like, there's no way that we're able to run this thing for $5,000 a day. And then I'm like, okay, well that makes sense with the tickets that we'll be making, and that they're not covering the operation cost, they're just covering the ticket cost.
Yeah, we analyze cost coverage 2 ways: service per hour, based on the hour the buses run, and also we do a detailed analysis of the number of buses assigned at the hourly rate that the operator is going to be running it, and we compare those to what we're receiving, and we adjust the city's subsidy request based on increased costs. So we look at it 2 ways every year and make sure that the flat fee plus the fare subsidy is still going to cover what we anticipate that it will cover.
Cool.
And we might get some extra weekend revenue because of the festival being downtown for 2 days.
On Sunday, yeah. The
Yeah.
city's paying us a flat fee for Saturday.
That we like. Okay. Any other questions? All right. All those in favor say aye. Or
Aye.
raise your hand. Be easier.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving right along.
All right, next issue, request board approval for memorandum of understanding and MOU between the city of Port Wentworth and CAT to provide for a St. Patrick's Day shuttle service. City of Port Wentworth, it will pay CAT flat fee $2,610 for a 3-bus shuttle or $3,480 for a 4-bus shuttle. Passengers will purchase a $5 wristband for a round trip. From CAT staff on site at the school, usually Rice Home School. Wristbands will serve as a boarding pass. An option to add a 4th bus is under consideration with the final decision pending Port Wentworth officials.
Which we know what's going on with them, so.
Yeah.
It may take a while to get that approved.
They got 4
think-
people now.
Did they have what, one?
They got 4 people now.
Yeah, they got one board meeting in them. So
We
it's
still got
beginning of
one
the year.
person missing.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the MOA?
MOU?
MOU. So. Anyone?
Second motion to approve.
Second?
I have a question.
I did too.
We got a
I got a
second at
question.
first. We don't have a second yet.
Yeah, Pete did.
Oh, Pete did. I'm sorry. You raised your hand. I didn't hear you say anything. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Jack.
My question is this, and I'm just gonna be candid about it. Port Wentworth is cool with us moving in there to do St. Patrick's Day, but where are we as far as negotiations, as far as getting service in Port Wentworth? And what year is this with us doing this with Port Wentworth?
It's our 3rd year.
A 3rd year?
This will be our 3rd year.
So my thing is, somewhere down along the line, if they're good with us being able to get revenue on us on the St. Patrick's Day, it should be a point of, it's some ridership in Port Wentworth that needs to be coming into the city as well.
Yeah, why can't we go in there on St. Patrick's Day?
It's contract service. The First Amendment to the CAT Act that was passed in 1988 clarified that CAT could go into areas outside of the transit district on a contract basis, so long as the revenue generated or what was paid by the contracting party covered all of the operational costs plus pro rata covered any overhead fixed costs.
I get all that. I understand all that. My question is this: why aren't we progressively trying to make sure that we do this 365 days and not just 1 day or 2 days or whatever time period we're doing this with?
And what is their rationale for not being afraid of bus riders on St. Patrick's Day?
It's the same CAT bus. It's just contracted service.
I don't think it has to do with the type of bus. It has to do with traffic coming into the city and the lack of parking nearby to bring those people in from Port Wentworth. How else are they going to get here? And can we afford to have that many more people try to park in downtown Savannah?
And everything you just said
And
is
Fort
the
Worth
same.
is ongoing.
Everything you just said is the same rationale for having transit service to be in Port.
But in Port Wentworth.
We also have paratransit there, but we don't have any fixed route.
So that's my only point. And this is a public meeting. I'm supposed to discuss these things. And
They want what they want, and they don't want the big buses apparently.
Can you help us set that up?
We met with Port Wentworth
when
last year.
we also met with them this year, and we're getting ready to meet with them this year about giving them money to talk about going in there on St. Patrick's Day.
No, they're giving us money.
Well,
to
to
go
give
in.
us money to go in, so however you want to call it, it's still a relationship there. So
And
why aren't
that's
we
the one
paramount
they
that
approved.
relationship? This is the 3rd year doing it. Why aren't we paramount in that relationship to make sure we offer service? in it?
With you guys,
It's an
as county
ongoing process.
commissioners.
They don't want fixed route service at this point.
but this might be an
On a
interesting
regular
opportunity to, I think specifically with the 3 of you, to sort of be like, hey, you know, we're happy to agree with you on providing bus service, and maybe this could be a conversation for opening up, you know, year-round bus service. And you know, we're happy to provide this, and let's talk about, let's talk.
It's
And I think
very
if you guys
foul.
could help lead that.
It's really foul that they don't want the service except on one day a year.
I get what you're saying. I agree with you what you're saying, and that this is a different direction we're going as CAT now. Because in the past, we led by the chief, and the chief made that decision. I have no problem doing that. However, it has to be a consensus among us all to say that's what we want to do.
The biggest problem is that the commission voted to do county-wide bus service. And these municipalities have put up every roadblock they could think of to stop us from providing bus service, as though bringing the bus into their community is going to increase crime, like somebody's going to use the bus as a getaway vehicle. Nowhere in the history of crime has anybody waited on a CAT bus while holding a TV that they stole out of somebody's house.
And Commissioner O'Dell, I will say that the new city manager did reach out to us before they had, the issues that they were dealing with, and we did start a discussion. They have reached out to us to add service, so it's not like they're totally closed to it.
Well, we really need to be aggressively pursuing these other municipalities that are frightened of the CAT bus. And then they need to explain what scares them so bad of having bus service in their community. The people who live there work.
But you're gonna raise taxes,
I think that's the
biggest
bigger
problem.
issue, man. It's not the burgers. I think
Garden
it's more about the
City,
military
Garden
taxes.
City told us that, Thunderbolt told us that when they refused to open up those stops and pay us to bring the service in. They don't want the taxes. And I think we're getting way beyond the MOU. If we're gonna talk about that stuff, we can do that, but that's not what this is about today.
Well, it's tied to it, but
I was just going to say that this St. Patrick's Day, could there be some opportunity to open the door by saying, okay, we're going to do it for this St. Patrick's Day, but going forward,
thank you.
if you want our help on St. Patrick's Day, we really need to talk about fixed route service there. Just a suggestion.
I appreciate it.
That's a great suggestion.
But we are in
I understand.
contact with these groups.
It's worth a try.
Mike, the only thing I'm gonna say is this: anytime you have a point of leverage, you have to use it.
Right.
This is a point of leverage.
Well, it hasn't worked in the past, but we keep using it. I mean, we can't force them to take service.
I don't think we have used it in the past. I mean, that's just me personally. But
We'll see
I'm done.
going
I just want
forward.
to make sure that was put on the
We're
table.
talking to Garden Service, we're talking to Pooler, we've talked to Fort Wentworth. Thunderbolt turns down cold. I mean,
But today we're talking about.
Tybee
But
is
today we're
turns
talking
down
about Fort
cold.
Wentworth getting something dealing with St. Patrick's Day. And
Well, they get
anytime a
paratransit
municipality-
service from us, so, I mean, that's our leverage. If you want to talk about leverage, one day for St. Patrick's Day is not leverage. We
Well,
give them
paratransit-
paratransit service where we have no fixed route service outside the 3/4 mile, so why should they take something they don't want if we're giving them what they need?
And that actually is up to the county commission.
That's what I was getting ready to
That's the
say.
county commission sets that.
And I think
And we're not gonna roll that back because everybody pays into that millage. Everybody pays into that, so we're not even gonna. That's not even worth a conversation.
But I don't want
But
us to
they
lose sight of
want,
the
they got what they
suggestion.
want, that's all they want at this point.
But the suggestion is to keep the conversation going. I don't
It
want us
is
to lose
open.
sight of that. I don't want us to lose sight of that.
Let's not assume it's not open, but can we vote on this since we're in a whole different area? I had a motion and a second. Any other questions on the MOU? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, next item.
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next item is to issue request board approval for submission of grant applications to the FTA for fiscal year FY 2020, formula and competitive funding assisted opportunities. Competitive funding opportunities include low and no emission vehicle program, bus and bus facilities, passenger ferry grant program, and formula funding, urbanized transit formula grant, bus and bus facilities, and state of good repair grant program.
And I think there's one addition, is not.
Yes.
Yes, we do have one addition that I found out on Monday at the ACAT meeting. There's going to be a request for projects to the MPO under the Z230 funds, which will help us in purchasing additional buses going forward. I don't know what the deadline date is, but the MPO is voting on it Wednesday to approve that.
I believe the
And it's up
deadline's
to $5 million.
the 20th, the third week of March.
So the deadline will be before our next board meeting.
So we don't get the same triggers that we get from, these come up from NPO, we don't get the same triggers we get from FTA that tells us it's out there.
Right, so the MPO doesn't have like an auto notification line, but our planners are, will hear from their planning staff, and Mike and Dr. O'Halloran both sit on the MPO board.
Right,
So
which is
they
tomorrow.
are aware of it also. So we know we know every year when the call for projects is gonna hit, which I think is tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, what my question was, I heard you say you just heard about it, I was just.
I got it from ACAT, which
Yeah.
is part of them. That came
Yeah.
yesterday at the ACAT meeting that was held here.
Cat found out about it internally, but it was after this report went to press.
Yeah, because that was on their agenda. It was on Monday's agenda for ACAT, which is
we
part
need to
of
make
the
a-
MPO.
We make a
And then
amendment
to
to this?
include permission to apply for that grant opportunity
As
also.
well. It's an
Yes.
additional grant that we're applying for.
Someone,
submission.
yes, someone needs to make a motion to add that to this list of grant applications, and with a second vote to add it to the list.
I don't know enough to make the amendment, so I'm not gonna make the amendment.
Do I hear a motion to add the application for the C230 project submission for the MPO?
So moved.
Second. Any other questions on the additional funding?
Can we make sure we get this, if it gets voted on, can we make sure we all get a copy of what this is being added?
Yeah, this is the first I've heard about it in 3 years. It was yesterday.
I just wanna make sure we got a copy of it.
Yeah.
Do we know the funding amount for CAT?
So back in 15 and 16, we received 2.8 million for vehicle replacement assistance. With the more recent round of Z230, we applied for and received 3.5 million, and they actually reallocated some unused money for an additional 650,000. So that's right at 4.1 the last time. I would imagine that the same pot of money is available,
Yes.
and we'll make the same request, and depending on how many other applications and how they divvy it up, we'll receive some share of the 4 to 6 that they have to offer.
And this is very short-term funding. It's less than 30 days to get the submissions, and so if we don't start now, we're not going to make it in time. So that's why we need to add it.
And I think as a board, we just have to trust, at this point, we haven't seen it, so we just have to trust that.
We've used it before.
Yeah.
They just changed the number from M230 to Z230.
From 15 to 16, it's a different federal highways funding source, and some people identify it as STBG funds. Some say M230, M301, Z230. It depends on which funding source you're talking about in the federal government's list of grant opportunities, the number that's assigned. So it's no more than permission to apply for policy,
Right.
so that our planners can submit a project and be considered for grant award.
And with matching, I think it goes up to 5 million total that's available. Which we've used and probably purchased 3 or 4 vehicles with what we've gotten in the past or more.
Chatham County has been very generous in their year-over-year support of CAT's capital projects by allowing us to share in their special purpose local option sales tax allocation. And we have funds designated that would allow us to match the MPO's request.
We do currently have an identified project that we will apply. to
Fleet
this.
replacement, yes ma'am.
Yeah, we have always had replacement. We're on the cycle to replace buses on a daily basis, pretty much. Okay, any other questions? All those in favor of adding that addition to the FDA grant application submission?
Wait a minute.
Raise your hand.
Wait. point of order?
We're voting just to add
Just
the
to-
Z 230 to
Oh.
what's on this existing list.
You don't have to, I think we have to amend it, right? Am I correct?
That's what I understand you were doing.
But
I
we're
think that's what
voting,
we're
this
doing.
we're voting right now. I don't think we
We're
need to
voting
vote.
to amend to add
Voting
that.
to amend.
Okay, so we voted, have we voted on the issue? We haven't voted on this
No.
yet? Okay.
We have to do this first.
All right.
So all those in favor of adding the Z 230? Opposed? Okay, now we can go back to the, did we make the original motion on the FGA?
That's
yet?
why,
No.
no, that's why I asked.
So now we need to make the motion for the FGA grant application submission approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
Questions?
Looks great.
I got, not a question, but, if this is approved, I would like to see a full layout of this right here and options as far as how much, I guess, the 20% match or whatever case may be, any kind of match that we have to come up with, or whether it be county or whether it be us, or whatever case may be, with the eight different grants that we are actually asking for. That's it, brother.
Any other questions? Let's take the vote. All those in favor of the grant application submission, raise your hands. Opposed? Next.
Next item to request board approval. The board approved the award of consulting service contract for the development of an incentive compensation model. CAT has identified workforce engagement as a critical component necessary to maximize staff potential. CAT's strategic plan includes the development of a performance evaluation and compensation model that provides for and implements an incentive-based component of employee compensation using a metric-based scorecard to evaluate merit. Facts and findings breaks down the criteria and the guidelines of how proposals were evaluated. It's in your board packet. As well as the cost.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, questions?
I have one. I was looking at,
First.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was looking at the way that we evaluate those two proposals, and, correct me if I'm wrong, when you evaluate, you usually ask the same questions to both parties in order to get a fair rating of each. In this case, we asked one about professional qualifications, past performance. The second one, we asked, let's see, we asked about work plan, past performance, staffing. There were a couple more on the second one that was not on the first one, when you did the evaluation.
So it might be confusing the schedule.
No, I'm looking at Transpro and Siegel Waters.
Yeah, they're
Am I
all
right?
evaluated on all three.
It's
equal.
five. It's five different things.
Yeah, so the price proposal is
And you
a
look at
quantitative.
staffing, project, or you said management plan.
Yeah, the wording is different, I think is what she's saying.
Yeah, because you got capacity to accomplish the work according to specifications and the required timeline. And
Yeah.
then you've got staffing. I'm just making sure that what we're
I think
doing.
it's a cut and paste
Yeah.
here.
If
The
it-
documents and the pre-approved evaluation are consistent regardless of proposal. I think it's a cut and paste issue
Right,
on the
that's-
schedule.
Right, 'cause when I
But I'll
look
have
at
to-
it, when I look at the wording,
Yes.
because there was not that big a difference
Right,
between the
so
two.
On number 3,
Yeah.
it should say exactly the same thing as the one above. If you go to the first page of the report. the
But it
quali-
doesn't.
Right.
But it
I think it's
doesn't.
a cut and paste error in the schedule.
Okay, that was my question, yeah,
Right.
because I want to
Yeah.
make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha.
It's a cut and paste in the document, and I will double check that and report back if it's anything other than that.
Yep.
Tabitha?
I got several questions. Is there a reason why we're having to hire out this particular function. I don't know why we can't look at other agencies, its models, to see how they're doing it. I also said that the county was more than willing to help get this done. That is a source that's not gonna cost us $90,000. I think we outsource a lot of things that we should be able to do in-house. I mean, I don't know why we can't draft these policies. Or this model. This isn't, I mean, that's a little ridiculous.
Who wants to handle that question? I know it was on the strategic plan from like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I'm remembering.
We have some new board members
that,
since then.
This was a board direction that with staff support, and that the direction from the prior board when we released this RFP was an independent, specific engagement to create a quantifiable incentive model in the efforts of increasing productivity and improving employee morale. And so it was at board direction that we released the RFP, and it's surely within this board's authority to not move forward with the project that they asked us to procure.
I don't understand why we have to stop the project. Why can't we just redefine the project? We're talking about $90-some-odd thousand when we have resources that we can use to draft our program. We should be able to draft this.
Oh, we got a cap
But
Well,
we should be able to
let me just
draft
say this, if we don't want this, then we just don't approve it.
well, I think it's a huge amount of money. I think we outsource a lot of things that we should be able to do, at least draft in-house. It's one thing to draft something and then bring somebody in to critique it and make it better. It's another thing to have somebody come in and build the boat for you.
But my question too, with the committee, the strategic planning committee, are you guys working on a new strategic plan anyway? Are you developing it? We're doing these workshops. Would that be something that could go to the committee as we look at redesigning our strategic plan?
I think that the workshops that we're holding are to receive input from the board. Which current strategic initiatives do you want to stay in the plan and move forward with?
Okay.
Which do you want to move? Which do you want to change the year?
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing it with a budget focus because we've got to fund the initiatives that the board wants us to implement over the next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
This initiative was board developed,
Right, got that
and,
part.
and was on the plan. So in order to try to accomplish that directive, we did the RFP.
But an incentive compensation model is not that hard to design.
Well,
It's
like
not,
Mike
Like I
said, but I
said,
wanna
if
do
we
it.
don't want to do this, we vote it down. The board approved it twice.
This was 2 years ago, wasn't
It's
it?
like 2018.
Yeah.
September,
I'm remembering.
October of
I'm
2018. The RFP went out in
remembering-
July of
yeah.
19.
Yeah.
I'm
Almost a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we approved the RFP.
Yes. I'm remembering an argument on both sides. There was a thought that an independent analysis that was unique to each job description would be received as fair and quantifiable so that morale would be increased instead of decreased. And there are limited resources outside of our critical functions. And to do it in-house, which we could, would take longer than if we had a team come in and focus on that, produce the document, train us, and move on. So.
But can't we ask other agencies how they set up their
Yes,
incentive
ma'am,
compensation?
surely. Those were all the discussed options, and this was the option that was decided on.
And I would like to wait on
Well,
this.
we've already waited a year, so.
Well, yeah, but $90-some-odd thousand for an
I
incentive
agree.
compensation model, that's a little insane. We have a exceedingly qualified HR person, and if she can't draft an incentive compensation model, then we got a problem. We need to-
Internally, so that would be developed internally from CAT.
it should be able to be drafted by us.
Yeah, and somebody
And
else
we should
look
be
at
able to
it.
contact other agencies and say, let me see your incentive compensation model. We also have resources that are available to us. Carolyn has a degree in HR and she's a lawyer. That's an independent evaluation that we're not going to have to pay $95,000 for.
Well, then my suggestion is if we don't want it, then not to vote against it.
I think we should.
It's on the table. It's a motion made. We have to vote on it. If you don't want to do it, you vote no.
And I think that we asked
It's like
a while
everything
ago.
else. It's up to the whole board to vote
Yeah.
on this. We voted on it 2 other times.
And I think that we asked for a list of our outsourced vendors. Did we ever get that?
I don't remember hearing that.
I think we get that every month.
No, I
So
requested that.
I think it was
specifically.
part of last year's budget responses, either in March or April, but I'd like the opportunity to double check when we
Okay.
transferred it.
Okay, if you could, and just send us that again.
Yep.
What we've outsourced, what services we outsourced, and what the cost was for those outsourced services.
Right
That'd be
now,
great.
it's uniform cleaning,
I think we
security,
need to vote on this.
and local and state lobbying, but I'll double check.
But we also have a lady that used to come in and do some HR stuff.
We can provide a list.
Yeah.
We'll provide a complete.
Now, I think I asked, I don't know if I asked in the committee or I asked for the meeting, but I did ask for that.
I remember the document, I just can't place
That's fine.
the source and when we sent it, and we
It's
can
great.
surely find it, update it for any changes, because over the normal course of business, vendors
Right.
drop off and vendors come on, and we can
And we have
forward it.
budget workshops coming up that we can go
Now, I might not be
through.
able to do it by tomorrow, because
No,
I'm
that's
trying to
fine.
properly prepare the information I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you at the first workshop, but we will get that to you.
And that can be part of the information for the second one.
I
Yep,
raised it higher. I've been trying to be patient.
I'm sorry.
You sit behind Dr. Robinson, so I
Yeah, you
can't
probably
see
can't
it.
see, I'm sorry.
My only quorum I had, I understand all that stuff, but I had an issue as far as price proposal. It didn't give me a price on here, and I know one got scored at 10, 10, 10, and one got scored 6, 6, 6. So
Yep.
how is that developing?
so the FTA regulations that we follow for policy
Uh-huh.
require you to take the lowest price and assign it a 10.
Okay.
And then they say there's a systematic approach to the points you apply for higher prices. So in this situation, the evaluators didn't score the price. That's done by a mathematical calculation with the lowest getting 10, the next lowest getting 6, the next lowest, if there had been one, getting 3,
So
and
in
those
essence,
under it.
the other organization bid higher than
Yes.
the one we went with.
If we look back, you could, I think it's,
And then the other piece that I wanted to point out as far as the evaluation is concerned is, in the evaluations 1, 2, 3 for the first bid, the evaluator 2 scored significantly lower than the other 2 evaluators. Where with the second bid, the evaluators scored within 1 to 2 points of each other. So it was more fair and equitable as far as the second evaluator group versus the first evaluator group. So, and it's the evaluators are the same people for both groups, correct?
yes.
Yes.
So that just kind of threw me for a clause on how the first one had such a low evaluation on one of the reports, but in the second group, all of them were fair, right, being from 1 to 3 points from each other. And so that just threw a red flag in my
Yeah,
head.
the
to
same
understand.
3 people are appointed to serve and evaluate every proposal. It's not like different people evaluate each one of the proposals. So they are given the authority to score how they feel. If there's a consistent outlier, there is a caveat where you can ask for reconsideration. But in this situation, the evaluator number 2 scored them both the same. So it wasn't like there was an attempt. I mean, it's the same person.
I get it, but it was curious that how the evaluator 2 scored so much lower on the first one versus the other 2 people.
No.
And then the other one. But it just threw me for a loop.
It's mathematical
yeah,
variation.
And and the
With-
price, you've already explained to me, price proposal wouldn't be the difference.
Mhm.
Right.
DBE wouldn't be the difference either.
Mhm.
DBE is part of the difference.
Well, no, the difference really came in the 1, 2, and 3 question. If you look at it, the difference came in the 1, 2, 3 question.
Yeah.
Yes, but
A little history on the evaluation committee, the selection process, and our procedures. Anytime there's an RFP, procurement staff looks at the nature. They recommend to the CEO a group of people who they feel would be good evaluators. The CEO determines which of those to sit, and then those designated employees evaluate each proposal under the same characteristics.
And they got a half a credit for DBE because it's a woman-driven business or
So if you are a certified DBE vendor through GDOT's uniform certification program, and you are the primary DBE, you get 10 points. We try to encourage our primaries to use DBE subcontractors when possible. So if you're the primary, you get 10, and if you're a sub under the primary, then the primary gets 5 points.
So this is a sub in that
Yeah.
sense, you're saying?
When you see 5 points, it's not the vendor, but the vendor has committed to use a subcontractor that is a DBE.
All right, so basically, if they would have got approved, if this would have got approved, then we need to track to make sure that the use of a DBE was actually done after the contract is made.
Yes, there's special oversight that you have to apply to make sure that a DBE is paid within a certain amount of time, and also that the DBE performs to
Is it
the
mandated
scope.
for them to use a DBE though as a subcontract? So it's just saying that they stated they will use it. But it's
They
not
have to,
mandated.
yeah, they
You can't mandate that.
Well, if a DBE is qualified for a job under that,
they're
We would want them to do
contractually
it.
obligated
All right.
to use the DBE, and if they don't, then we would have recourse.
okay, I just want to make sure.
And we've used both vendors before.
I don't think we've used C.
Well, it said past performance as a criteria.
So
Not
if we,
necessarily with us.
if we
Not
don't
necessarily with
have,
us.
yeah,
No.
if you don't have unique experience, then you're allowed to look at the body of work, either through the website or actual reference call information for other agencies that have used vendors.
But
So
now-
if they haven't been a vendor before, and this committee asks for recommendations, they can be provided. They can also go to the website and see what this vendor has done, and it's almost like the Google record, right? So they do check regardless of whether we've actually used them before.
So of these two, have we used both of these before?
We've used Transfer.
I remember Transpro, but not Siegel.
Never used it.
But that doesn't mean that prior to 10 years ago, CAT has not used
Haven't
them.
used them.
The reason why I question that, because when you look at Evaluator 2 for past performance, if we've used TransPro before, Evaluator 2 rated them a 24 when they rated the
Work
water
plan.
guy a 30.
That's what I was trying to point out.
So I'm saying if they looked at what was on the website, they liked him or them better than they did the one who done this stuff before.
And that's within their role as an
Yeah.
evaluator, and unfortunately, we don't override or direct.
No,
No, we're not. I don't think we're asking you to
Yeah.
override. We
No,
just
I'm
want to point out the.
Yeah, when I look at it, you know, the overall score is not that, it's not that big a gap.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So,
I do.
Yeah.
It's more clear cut when one proposer gets a 95 and all others get a 40. But in this situation, the proposals submitted are just
With
a
a
little.
2.5 point difference, it's
Yeah.
not a difference in the two organizations.
No, and this is the practice we've used for 5 years. This is how we do it. This is
Fine.
what
Yeah.
we told the FTA we use as a system. And then we're getting past voting on an issue. We're discussing the internal workings of our executive branch here.
But the question, but we are allowed to ask questions when we get, before we
Yes,
go in our
but there's variations. I would have rated it differently.
Point of order. At what time do we need to have these discussions then? Because if this is going to be brought up every time we go down
This is
the
a policy
city
issue.
silo, then when do we discuss these items?
That's the
I
policy
think
committee, because that's
well,
where these were
for the
set.
policy committee, in a policy committee, I wouldn't know these factors. In this
If you
report,
asked
I
for
know
it, you
these
would.
factors. No, I wouldn't know these factors in the policy committee. I know these factors to be true because right now I see the difference.
Right.
Every time it's
we
not
do
always
our-
like this in the difference.
No, and it never will be.
How come we don't get the bid amounts,
Bid amounts.
what they bid
The fee is on there
Seagulls is
for
not.
transfer?
because transfers is on there
Seagulls is not.
because that's who they approved to be the
Right, but-
vendor.
That's who we're recommending.
How come we don't get Siegel's too?
Do you remember what Siegel's was?
I know it's more because she's done told me it's more. But
Well, the price proposal point award indicates that it's more. So
Oh.
we do sometimes list it, especially when it's an IFB and the only determiner is price.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it listed in the board report staff provided,
Okay.
but from the evaluation, I can tell that Transpo had a cheaper price. So I would expect, yeah, well, I'm looking at the wrong one. So, hold on. It's right.
and based on that, I'm gonna ask for the item to be
So
tabled.
does
So
does
you guys-
Transpo-
We already,
Comments.
everybody's
Does
already saying you
Transpo
don't
have-
want it. We're spending an hour discussing something we're gonna vote against.
I don't think,
Can I
we didn't say we didn't
Can
want
I
it.
amend my
I
motion?
did.
Can I amend my motion to table the,
No, we have to vote on that. We'd have to knock it down.
He can
and then
rescind
make
his
a
motion though. He
No,
can
we
rescind
said-
his motion.
I think we should, let's look at it more, because we really are debating two things right now. One of them is
I know.
which one, the other one is, do we want to do this internally or not? And I think that's a really good question, so let's look at it, but let's also, I don't want to not move forward with this. I think if we could table it, as Jay was mentioning, that would be really great. And then to kind of look at this again, real quick, maybe in our committee meetings, to make sure that we should either move
How do
forward
we do
internally
that?
or
He can
or not.
rescind. You second the motion?
I'm down to do whatever I need to do.
Who
The motion
motioned?
has been motioned and second.
Who motioned is that?
Pete.
So,
So they can rescind their motion.
And this was second, Mr. Luckett second.
Can we do it to a date certain that might help?
Because I agree, I want to get this done
Right.
sooner than later.
so,
Can they just rescind at this point, Ty?
Mr.
If he
Clinton.
wants to withdraw his motion, he can, he needs to ask permission of the second.
Can I withdraw my motion?
So, Mr. Clinton,
Okay.
I heard you say we were gonna look at the price, choose
want to
between
rescind
one or
motion?
the other,
Yes.
and then decide to move forward. And
Not
did I
necessarily.
understand? So like,
Clinton wanted to move forward,
I
he just
hear
wanted
the-
more meat to it.
I hear the questions, but the board has alternatives. They can reject the recommendations of the review committee and direct staff to RFP it again, or they can approve. They can't look at the details and override the evaluation committee's choice.
Got it. Can we table it?
Sure, yeah.
We
Then I'd like to
can't, but
table
we
it.
can, but we can vote on the other, person if we wanted to.
I don't think we
No.
can.
I don't want either one of them.
I don't think we can. We
No,
can
you
either
can't.
reject it,
No.
we
No,
can not, we
that's what
can
they bring-
approve
they
it,
bring
or we can
transport
table
forward.
it.
Yeah, that's right.
But we can't vote to
I'm gonna look
approve
into it,
Siegel
but I think
Waters.
we can go with
Well,
another.
why would we want to why would we
So
want to vote
let's
on the
table
other?
it.
I understand.
Let's table this and discuss it in
I know we
committee.
can.
You have to rescind your motion.
I would
But
like
this
to
is just-
rescind the
this is just a
motion with the
recommendation.
approval of Pete.
He did. I
Great.
said yes.
Both of them did it,
I'd like to propose a new motion,
but
that we
Well,
table
you're
this.
gonna have to hold that for new business because it's not an
So it's
action item
just-
at this point.
No, he can.
you can motion to table,
Yeah,
yes, you can, because the items on
As
the
long as he
agenda.
understands that something that's tabled has to be taken off the table at the next
Right.
meeting. You
Great.
can't
Correct.
do it in
Can't,
perpetuity.
yeah.
But he rescinded it, it wasn't tabled.
He pulled his motion off,
So that means they don't want to even vote on
so there's no
this
motion
issue.
on the table.
There's no
Right.
vote.
That's right. But if you want to bring it back up, though, you do need a motion to table.
Thank you. So do we want to bring it back up?
Move to table?
I'll second that.
And
Yeah, but you're not tabling this because we're not bringing this up again. You're
Table
looking at the
discussion.
alternative.
If it's
To do
if it's
something
on
else.
the agenda, you need to table it in order to bring it back up at a later time.
That's right.
Yeah, but they don't want to re-review this. They
So
want to
then
do
don't
it
table.
internally.
No, but that's what I am proposing, is that we do potentially re-review it after looking at it in committee, specifically with Dr. Robinson. It's called you Dr. Gertrude. Specifically, perhaps in
So
our
the
committee and all
motion
the
to
other
table
ones. And then to
this
re-look
particular-
at it
Okay,
next
the
month.
motion to table is to move
I'll
to
second that.
committee.
I'll second that.
We're gonna request the full documentation.
Yeah, and then,
And we have a second?
Mhm.
All
I'll
those in
second that.
favor?
Motion is second.
All those in favor, raise your hands.
Well, let me make one thing clear. If you...
Can you finish the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you voted.
We did.
All opposed?
Everybody voted
Okay,
for it.
I don't know, I'm looking this way now.
I'm looking this way.
I used to have that privy to be able to see that.
Not anymore.
If you do receive the full documentation, just understand that you can't override the evaluation.
Got it. And I think that would be up for later discussion.
When you say we can't override it, we can't change their evaluation scores.
Correct.
Right.
That's all you mean.
Right.
But we can change who we want to go with.
No, you can't. You
No,
can't.
you
You
can't.
can't. You can't
vote
interfere
for
with the
someone that's not
procurement
recommend,
process.
that is not choice of the evaluation committee.
But we can look at the documentation.
Yes,
We
sir.
put the documentation.
Yeah.
You can, but we're supposed to tell on you.
Yeah. It violates the FTA regulation.
We got it.
That's what we need to know.
That's cool. I got you.
So stay.
Which, yeah, we're gonna table it.
Okay.
Let's go to remix.
So request board approval for MOU between.
Right page.
I'm on the wrong one?
No, I'm on the wrong one, go ahead.
Request board approval
Still
for
looking at the
memorandum
other one.
agreement, the MOU between Chatham County, Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission, the MPC, and CAT for assistance with the cost of transportation data and planning software. Since 2017, CAT has utilized Remix software for a variety of planning functions. Staff uses this tool to draw new routing scenarios and weigh social and financial impacts of these scenarios prior to any new route implementation. The software also performs FTA required Title VI equity analysis during major service changes throughout the year and will be an important resource during the development and presentation of our transit development plan.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this MOU with MPC?
I'll make a motion.
Helen, second.
Second.
Questions?
So it's 24, this is the fee that we pay annually?
So the
Yeah.
software costs $27,000 annually.
Cool.
And we're gonna get 20 cents on the dollar if we agree to let the FPO help us.
I'm very okay with that.
So this is the first time that we helping us?
It's the first time that we asked for
Okay.
and they
They accept.
awarded the use of 5303 funds, yes, sir.
How do we use this software? Never mind. That's a good question. I'll ask that
Lots
later.
of ways.
I'll ask that later.
We motion seconded yet?
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions? All those in favor, raise your hands. Okay, approved unanimously. All right, next.
All right, next action item to request board approval, approve the award of financial auditing services contract in accordance with state law. Chatham Area Transit Authority's financial transactions are audited annually by an external auditor. The audited statements are also reflected within the Chatham County audit as a component unit of the county. Facts and findings are in your board packet.
I'm just reading through, sorry, I gotta get you to refresh my memory. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the,
What number?
what number?
Number 6.
Oh, number 6. The single audit contract services. We have to do an audit every year, and we're having a new audit company come in. So do I have a motion to approve the new service contract for the audit?
Where are they based out of?
That's questions. Do I have a motion?
Can I take the motion first?
Approval.
Second.
Second. Questions?
Where are they based?
It's a regional firm with a local office,
Maudine is.
Malden and Jenkins. The auditing firm also provides the auditing services for Chatham County.
So I just want to make sure I get this right. $78,000 for the initial 3-year contract term and $57,000 for the optional extension years.
Mhm.
So $78,000 for 3 years. Is that $78,000 per year?
No, 78 divided by 3.
Got it.
26,000.
And then the $57,000 would be for
2 years.
2 years. So a
Mhm.
total of 5 years with a 3-year.
3-year with a 2-year,
Possible-
2
with 2-year
possible
extension.
extensions.
Yep.
The 2-year extension,
It's per year.
that can be renegotiated or,
At the end of our standard 3 years,
Then
we
it can be
usually
approved.
make a recommendation to either approve an amendment for an additional year
Okay.
or to go with another vendor.
So it's 26 for 2021, 2022, 2023.
21, 22,
It might be
23.
24, 25, 26, 27, but globally,
Okay, that's kinda-
135 divided by 5, it's right at $25,000.
Oh, yeah, cool, great.
And that is pretty cheap.
That's really cheap.
but after year 3, we can,
Choose again
Yes.
or approve an ongoing additional year at a time. And yes, the fee was
That's really cheap.
extremely
that's the kind of
low,
Medicare you,
and I would expect the possibility
that's to make us,
of
come to the
a
table.
request for an increase. It's 1/3 of what it used to cost,
Okay.
an agency our
How
size.
why is it so low? I mean, I used to work with an organization that was like $100,000 and our audit was $5,000.
As I'm not allowed to insert myself into the procurement process.
Okay,
So I haven't had a discussion with either vendor.
okay,
My impression of the cost benefit we're going to receive is based on industry and average that CAT has paid.
okay.
I would imagine that with the first time, they might not have anticipated the comprehensive review procedures that are required to be compliant with the FTA and other agencies as it relates to our grants.
But they bid it on it though.
They did.
So we can hold them
So
accountable to do that.
If they sign the contract, yes, sir.
are we going to get, I guess there's always a risk with any contracted service such as this. But do you feel that this is an appropriate move for us to make in terms of that we're not getting the bottom dollar, or we're not messing ourselves up in the future because
We don't know, they audit the county, so
Well-
I'm assuming they have some idea what they're doing.
Right, so with audit firms, there's very little wiggle room
Mhm.
as to what they're required to do. They are, just like us, heavily regulated, and they are peer reviewed. So I understand that this firm has a transportation grant team,
Okay.
and I would expect that they knew what they were going to have to do because it is standard across the industry.
And what was,
So-
what was just told to me 10 minutes ago, we can't get out of it anyway because it's the higher value.
We can
We
approve
could
it.
always redo the.
We can approve it, or we can rebid it
I agree.
and recommend,
But if we move forward, we have to stick with that first.
Yes.
Yep.
yes.
That's
And
what I-
based on this discussion that I'm sure they're anticipating review of, they might have pause with signing a contract based on this discussion because,
They haven't signed it yet.
yes, we can't move to contract negotiation without board approval.
How much did we pay our last audit?
So it has varied. It runs between 40 and 80,000 a year, depending on the volume of the grant transactions.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Can we move to approve? Or move to?
Calling the motion?
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion, raise your hands.
I'm raising my hand.
Unanimous again.
Thank you.
Moving on, because you're gonna see the same kind of discrepancy in our next RFP.
Oh, yeah.
All right, the last action item, board, to request board approval, to board approval award for contract, for repairs to the fleet parking lot, Cass Fleet parking lot, requiring repairs to address safety issues. dilapidated areas of the concrete have resulted in employee trips and falls with injury. CAT seeks to ensure a safe working environment for its employees and preserve federally funded assets. The repairs will be paid for out of operating funds. Staff will monitor future grant opportunities, which allow pre-award authority for qualifying future reimbursement. But the critical nature of the safety concerns dictate moving forward with the needed repairs.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the bid for the police parking lot repair?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Questions?
Okay, now we have discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, I got several. Where is Caraway located?
Richmond Hill.
Edwards,
Savannah,
Frontier,
Savannah.
and Guyton is in Guyton.
That's the person's
No, that's
name,
the-
not
they're
the
in Savannah.
town.
Oh, where are they located?
Savannah.
2 or 3 from Savannah.
So 3 are from Savannah. And why are we picking the highest one?
We're not.
Well, the second highest one?
So they
Same
did it
thing,
right.
the evaluation process.
Well, this one was a little different. This is emergency procurement.
Oh, you didn't
We
do it.
felt
Small
Sorry.
purchase
small
procurement.
purchase. I'm sorry, small purchase, and we felt that they would do the best job for the price. of the
Based on
value.
what?
So I talked to the
Because it's
director.
$30,000,
28,556.
yes, more than the second highest bidder.
So the director of maintenance looked at all of these firms and also looked at their experience with this type of job. And this firm had the most experience with the type of parking lot reinforcement that he needs to correct the problems with our parking lot. Actually, Caraway and Edwards had the same type of experience and reputation based on his review, but he went with the lower cost of those two. The other two that submitted the quotes, the director of maintenance did not feel that their body of work, based on his analysis, would give us the quality that we need.
So we've done
What?
different, so
So
have,
4 people submitted quotes, and the director of maintenance reviewed their work in the community, and the 2 lower quotes.
We're talking about laying asphalt.
So this is this is
Supported
18
by
inch. This is
rebar
18
and
inch
meant
thick
to handle
reinforced.
the weight of our buses.
Buses.
Yes.
Which
Okay.
is a little bit different.
Right,
than-
right, but I'm
The weight
checking.
of the
Yeah.
buses.
So in his opinion, 2 of them would not have been able to provide the work at the quality we needed. That left 2. and
Okay, so
he-
you're saying that the 2 lowest bids don't work in this area?
They don't do the type of
Work.
work that we need, so he could not assess whether they would be able to add the expertise for the rebar assisted concrete pad. So I'm outside of my element. That's the sum total of my knowledge on the actual technicalities.
And there's also grades of concrete that have to be used for
But-
specific.
Well, I'd kind of like to know, like, is Frontier and Guyton more residential? Do they
It
not
looks
do
like it. I'm
commercial?
looking at Guyton.
They're
right now.
smaller without the
wrote it up.
exposure for this
Handwritten.
construction / business concrete work.
one of my,
Mr. Cody, is there something that you know based on your? I'm
He's trying to look
sorry.
for, he's probably looking.
Well, no,
I'm looking for an expert that would know the words.
one of my
because-
concerns was I looked at the number of employees that they had in-house and how much they'd have to bring in to get the work done. That was a concern of mine as well. Because if you only got 2 employees and you need a group of 10 people, where are you gonna get those people from? And are they experts in that field?
And that work was charged to CAT's internal expert, which is our director of maintenance.
Right, and
he recommended that we go with the vendor we're asking you to approve.
And then if I can add to that, you know, although they weren't the lowest bidder,
Right.
They had proven experience with the type of work that we needed done.
Well,
So they were the lowest bidder with the type of experience that we need for this job.
I mean, on their website, they did Parkers, they did these huge shopping malls. I did take a look at it, 'cause I was concerned about the $28,000 as well.
Right. I mean,
And-
that's what our director of maintenance did, and he looked at other factors. He called colleagues in the community that have used all of these vendors to see if they were happy with the work. So he applied our normal internal vetting process, and based on his expertise, his recommendation was for Carolyn.
Okay.
But I guess, and I don't know if I know with the county we do it differently than we do it here, but with the two bids being lower, is it the scope of work that was given to them where they didn't vet well? Because that should have been something vetted out in the scope of work.
The actual specifications.
Because my thing is, if their names are brought forward, then it says that they can actually provide the service, and that's how I'm looking at it. Is there, and I'm just trying for future. I mean,
Right.
if a scope of work says this is what we need, I need you to do graded with the pegs and rail. I don't know the technical terms. You should probably answer on that. But it needs to be done a certain way where weight specifications, all the other good stuff like that is out there, and they fit it. I mean, how do they get to this point where they're on an RFP with me in the 4, and we're making the decision to go with the second highest amount?
So this purchase
Well,
falls within us. This type of purchase does not require an RFP. The FTA allows you, for small purchases, to solicit quotes and choose the best value. You don't have to go with the lowest bidder.
I get that. But my question is this: you have Frontier and Guyton. Both of them bid lower than the other one. Okay, if we would have went with Guyton, and the concrete wasn't right or whatever the case may be, where do they fall in the specifications of saying? Because right now we're basing it on opinion, and I'm not taking away from the opinion of the guy who's supposed to be over the maintenance shop, but we're basing it on opinion of what he says, which is the best rated. Where is it in the scope of work that says all these people qualify under this thing right here, where I don't have an opinion that I'm basing my decision? I'm basing my decision on an opinion right now, and not waiting on the scope of work.
And the scope of work, did
was
it say
exactly the same for all requests for quotes.
I know, what I'm saying is, did it ask for the rebar? Did it ask for everything so that these
It's
people?
my understanding that yes, it did.
So if it all asked for this, then basically all 4 would qualify for the job. That's what I'm trying to.
Theoretically.
But then we even need to add meat to the scope of work, because I don't want to make a decision based on an opinion.
But is time sensitive? Was time?
Expertise, opinion, whatever. Expertise should be put in the scope of work. Everything should be based on scope of work. We should be making decisions based on whatever standards are put in here, and not an opinion. Not taking away from his opinion, but it should be based on the scope of work.
They should have been knocked out of them. They should have been knocked out.
It shouldn't even been brought to me if that was the case.
If their area of expertise is home building, then
We need to have more rooted in the scope of work.
Staff tried to include every quote in order to be as comprehensive as possible in their reporting, and
But listen to public opinion. This is public opinion. I bid on the contract. I bidded the way I was supposed to bid on the contract, and my bid was lower than the rest of the bids on the contract, and I didn't receive the contract. I'm not going to bid on no more contracts because it's based on of opinion and not the scope of work of the contract. And most contracts, I know in the county, we go with the lowest bid. And so when we go with the lowest bid, that should be that people are not going to want to bid with us if we're making files of opinion and not basing on scope of work.
What is scope of work? Describe that.
Scope of work is the description of what the project is all about. This is what we want. design and when we do the project. We want concrete, we want it done poured this way, the rating is this, the buses riding on it, that's all scope of work. I don't know the scope of work, because that's not my level right here. I just understand scope of work is what we give out there when we're asking people to do something for us at Chatham Area Transit.
Got it. And so the concern is that this is or is not graded on scope of work?
We don't know.
The thing is what I'm hearing is of an opinion, and I'm not knocking the person's opinion, but it's of an opinion that we're not going to go with the lowest rated person as far as money is concerned, because the designs have been looked at and this person looks more qualified. And I'm not judging on opinion. I just want everything where it's fair and biased, scope of work, designs what we do, and we vote on scope of work and not on opinion.
And it looks like Frontier does finished concrete for like houses and stuff.
Yeah.
So that probably should be notated somewhere as to why they weren't.
So we would have looked at this, and maybe it would have been easier if after every one of these quotes, we listed why staff, based on their review, determined it to be non-responsive or not of best value.
That probably would help.
And we can do that. Part of the discussion was, we can spend $130 for this firm to do this, but it will reoccur within this amount of time based on what we see as their
And that's not
product.
what we want.
Right.
We just want
Yeah.
enough justification so that when somebody comes to us and says, we don't award grant work to local business, and we went outside of the procurement process and picked the highest bid instead of the lowest bid or
Right.
whatever.
So
Just
for
put some
this one, that
meat in it.
I would offer that you could say the decision was made within our current policy and per FTA guidance, and that at the end of this process, our team always calls and discusses and offers a debrief so that we can let the vendor who wasn't chosen know what they could do to improve and be the selected vendor next time.
Right, but it would be great if you gave us notes.
We can do
Like,
that.
yeah, this one, and one of the things that I had them do at the county is they put the state or the city and state where the vendors are from.
Yes, ma'am.
So that we know which ones are local, which ones are not local. And
We
that
can add
helps.
that too.
And that helps as well. And then they let us know, this one failed on this part or that part or whatever. And we recommended this one because this one's being recommended so that we don't have to go back and do repair work on the repair work.
Is this based off the GDOT?
That would be great.
The maintenance director is the one in our organization that's qualified to answer and scope that job, and I'm sorry he's not here, and I've exhausted my knowledge base with what I know about why he made the decision. Based on the same question procurement staff asked when the quotes came in. I mean, we asked the same questions you asked in order to understand the choice, and we can surely review the scope, review the specs, but based on my experience with those quotes, he goes by industry standard and any local and state required specifications. So I would expect it to meet those certifications.
It just seems odd that they applied for something that, if it's so far outside of this.
Some people do.
I'm not
That's the
disputing
thing
that. I know
about
some people
GDOT,
do that.
And it doesn't mean that they're experienced. They have the experience in the area.
Yep.
So a lot of people, you get vote for it, but just because you're GDOT certified doesn't necessarily mean that you have the experience to do this job.
Okay.
But a lot of, they will still vote on
But-
bid on it.
And I agree with you on that. My quorum is you can put enough specifications, you can put enough things in there to filter
Yeah.
those people out.
You're gonna have to.
But that's the point. We didn't do that, and now we're stuck with a bid that has two people below the bid that we wanted to vote for.
Then let's table it.
No,
Oh,
no,
God,
this
no.
is definitely
This is
about
false.
the safety
There's
issue. Yeah.
no one here that can answer these questions. What do you
No,
want to
we've
do?
got the questions answered.
Yeah,
We're
because
just-
my point was what Mr. Brown made initially. If this is an emergency situation, it has to be done.
He should have been here that night.
And we've decided that Caraway can do the job. My thing was we should have had some indication of a time factor. if these other guys can't meet the timeline to get it done, then we need to go with Caraway if he can meet our timeline.
I don't
If-
think it
if
was
it's
a
an emergency thing.
timeline issue that made the determination.
But it would be helpful if it was, because if it's an emergency thing, you said if we really need to do this, we need to do it.
The
We need to get the
emergency
person-
piece, the emergency piece was the lack of a 8-week formal RFP process
Right.
and the choice
That's all
to
it
get,
was.
solicit quotes and receive it.
I thought the emergency was
None of the
falling and
time.
getting hurt.
Yes.
I thought we were having- I thought we
But
were
that's
having-
what, that was caused because of that.
That's
Yeah.
why we did the emergency.
Right, so,
that's what emergency small
I said, let's
business.
go, let's.
I call the question.
Yes.
No, you don't want to repeat, we're going to go, the motion is to accept the bid from Caraway ABC Contractors, Inc. for repair to the parking lot at the Gwinnett facility. All those in favor, raise your hands. Opposed? You got 2 opposed.
And for the record, I am opposing, not because it's not an emergency, because of the process of how we went through this. That's why I'm opposing. I know we have to take care of it, but I'm opposing because of that.
Well, then we
the
need a
process.
policy to cover emergency
If
repairs
that's how
in
you
the
want to do
future.
it, that's, but I'm opposing because of that, not because of the emergency.
For the record, the safety of our staff and our personnel, for me personally, just comes before that. I think it's important to move it.
Yeah, but this is the third, fourth time we've done this.
But we can work on that through committee as well.
Absolutely.
Because I
Moving
agree
forward,
with, I
very
agree
much
with,
so.
I agree
But
with
right now,
Commissioner
We're not
Bell.
gonna fix it until we fix it.
Yeah.
And this is the second, third time we've done this since I've been on this board.
Done what?
Done this where we're rushing something through and we're gonna go back and talk about it in policy, but we don't do it and we have the same conversation.
We'll talk about it.
Well, it may have been a different thing than this, I don't know, but we just did it with the auditing agency, which we accepted their bid, which we know is gonna be low.
So,
So it, you know.
We could have got
sometimes-
any of them construction companies to bid it.
so there is no
It's not
safety,
that
so
much
there is no
emergency.
safety
Yes.
issue as far as people getting hurt? Is that what I'm,
7-2.
my concern was safety.
Yeah.
If-
Yes.
if
Yeah,
I'm
it's done.
with you if it wasn't a safety issue.
When did I quorum it with safety? I never quorumed it with safety. I'm questioning the bid process. What I'm saying
Right, I
is
agree.
any of the 4 construction companies could have did it.
But delaying the bid process would be detrimental.
I never said delay the bid process. I said we should
Do
change the
we have,
procurement as far as
do
who.
we have a
agree.
copy of our
I think
bidding
we
process
could've
for
did it.
emergency?
It's actually in the
Or the
current
FPA
version
regs.
of the
We could've
procurement
changed
policy
it.
under
We could've
types of
changed it.
procurement.
That's
It
what I'm
walks you
saying.
through what the
That has
procedures are
nothing
for
to do with
each
safety.
type.
Okay. It is in the procurement policy.
I wasn't trying to delay.
I got you.
Terry
You
tells
say
me
no
it is in
public.
the procurement policies that we approved, last month? Or, no, we didn't
No,
approve.
that are under,
The current.
it's not a change. It
Right.
existed in the most recent approved document. What has changed are FTA limits for each type, but the type of procurement and the procedures that we apply are listed in the policy, and they are set to meet Federal Transit Administration guidelines in order to allow us to remain compliant while also following our internal procedure.
Okay. So it is in that.
Yes, sir. It talks about emergency procurement, small purchase, IFB, RFP, which is request for proposal. It discusses design, bid, build. So there's a page describing each type and the procedures that we are to follow per each type.
And I think that's not even the argument as far as FTA guidelines. I think that the question was about whether or not, we know we can go with a higher bidder based on FTA guidelines, but is it the right thing to do, is what the question was based on the way the process was done.
Yeah, based on our staff expertise, that's the decision and recommendation, and I understand that there's outstanding questions, and we'll hope to get the quotes and the spec questions answered for you.
Okay, Mike, I asked Beverly to change my vote. I'm gonna vote no
Okay.
until I get the rest of the information.
Yeah, well, we can change it, we can
It's
change.
not, when are we,
Can we change our
once
vote?
we approve it, it's gonna be started, if they're available to start.
Already,
That's fine, but I'll change my vote.
Okay. Change your vote, that's all.
We can change votes.
So we can change votes? Cause I'm conflicted now, for real.
I don't know we can change votes.
Technically, no. Once the vote's taken, it's final.
We can't make a motion to and think of how you do it, but Ty, you better
Reconsider,
help
a
me.
motion for reconsideration, and the motion has to be made by someone who was not on the winning side, someone who was on the losing side.
So you can do what now?
A motion for reconsideration.
So I can make a motion for reconsideration.
You voted no, yes, you can vote.
All right. I want to make a motion to reconsider.
I second.
Will you technically
Discussion?
So what are we talking about here? I mean, I feel like we've got a broken concrete pad that we
It's
need to be
changing the
fixed
vote count.
We're talking about
as
process.
quickly as
We're talking
possible.
about process.
I know. I just want to make sure that at the end of the day, we're at the end of the day, as long as we can walk out of here and make sure that somebody is going to help us fix a safety issue at CAT as soon as possible, then I'm
Is
very
this
interested.
section
in
open right
and
now?
all that
Is
sounds
it being
good. And
cordoned
I've not
off
said
or what?
anything against what you just said. I am talking about who's the one who will fix the concrete. As long as the concrete gets fixed, I'm with you on fixing the concrete.
We're
I'm discussing
basically
on
changing
who's going
the
to fix the
vote
concrete.
to approve.
So who do you
From
want to fix the concrete?
7
I want the lowest bid.
You want the lowest bid? I
Correct.
don't want the lowest bid. I want
Right,
the
you can
bid, I
vote
want the
against
bid
it.
that we already voted on.
We're basically changing the vote count.
I just wanna make
So
sure.
Tabitha's vote is no rather than yes.
I just want to
And I
make
want-
sure that the process, that each one was evaluated based off of the criteria and not just the opinion that they couldn't
Right.
do it. I want to make sure that this person here is the one that can fix it and the other two cannot.
And that's what Steve did by telling us that this was his first choice.
And the deciding
But
factor.
that's not what we,
And Commissioner Odell, the deciding factor was the fact that they have experience in this kind of job. And that was, that holds weight because we want to make sure it's done correctly. And sometimes the lowest bid is not always the best.
I'm not saying
based
that
on,
it's
no,
the
best.
based on what you just said, experience of doing the job. The people who did that thing right there had the experience of doing the job, but we got issues with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So just because they got experience to do the job doesn't put them as a qualified person. If we have people who put bids out there that want to do the job, we need to make sure the scope of work validates them out or validates them in, not a personal opinion. And I'm gonna stand ground on that.
So what do you propose?
How many times you want me to say it?
Say it again.
I'm not gonna say it again because you done heard me already. It's already on record. I didn't say it already.
What did he say?
okay,
No, we have a motion on the floor for
To
reconsideration.
Yes.
reconsider the motion.
Who seconded?
Tabitha.
All right.
All those in favor of reconsidering? Opposed? Pete, have you voted?
No, I'm not voting on
so
Then we have to reconsider.
Thank you.
Means it gets postponed to the next board meeting.
I got a question now.
You can't keep having questions on the same motion. You just voted to rescind the motion.
It doesn't have to go to the next meeting. We can make a motion that we go with one of the other vendors.
I don't think that's wise.
That's not what I'm
No.
not saying go
We're
with
not
other
the
vendors.
authorities on concrete. I'm not.
Well, we're making
comfortable.
ourselves the ones.
Well, I'm not.
We're dumping the opinion of the most qualified guy and saying it's not any good.
No, don't say that.
I'm not saying
Because you
go-
said
We only have one?
you're misconstruing the conversation.
No.
Because it's not the most qualified.
We're voting
How
to
do we
see-
know
to get this
Edwards?
done.
How do we know Edwards Construction Group is not the most qualified?
because you have an opinion from your professional that you
we employ
engage,
to
that you
cover these
employ.
situations.
No, but we don't have the opinion.
rely
We
on
don't
his
have the
expertise.
opinion of a statement when we put an RFP out there.
There was no RFP.
There's no
Well,
RFP.
whatever we put out there. What did we put out there? So that makes it even more convoluted, in my opinion.
Well, then we should
You're
table
risking
it
a
if
lot.
there's that much confusion.
We've already risked a lot.
So I think
I mean,
that
nobody's curious as to why Edwards is $265 grand.
There was even a cap on the on the
we're
motion?
curious, but to tell you the truth, we don't have $265,000.
I know,
we
but
have
that-
up
that's
to
such a
200. But I'm perfectly willing to talk to Mr. Boatwright to get the written documentation that he used to solicit the quotes and to have further discussion with the board about why he made the decision he made. And outside of offering to do that, I don't have any additional information for the procurement recommendation.
I'm just
So that would mean moving it
perplexed.
to the next board meeting.
Or a special call if we wanted to
special
move
call.
forward.
Let's do a special call. But I'm just perplexed at the bid amounts. $265. If we're saying the most qualified, is Edwards the most qualified? Whose parking lots does he build? I mean,
But because we don't have
why is
265,
his
you may be the most qualified, but we're not
$100,000?
going with him?
Yeah.
his is $100,000 more than everybody else.
Right. In my
That's an
experience
issue.
with the marine services, dock builds and buildings, and the construction that we've done, depending on whether somebody has business or doesn't, is idle or is busy, or has the equipment or has to rent it, their price goes up. So it's quite possible that Caraway has no business and Edwards is all over town and he needs to make more money to pull the equipment in to do the job. Now that's just based on the dock builders, the dock replacement, and the construction that I've been exposed to. But I do feel like if we allow time for the documents to be obtained and discussion with Steve, it'll be a lot less guessing, and he can tell you exactly why he decided what he decided.
Yeah, because these bids are all over the place. I mean, usually you have something within, $20,000 to $30,000, but
That's $100,000.
Right. The reason I know the answers to the
One of them
questions you're
is
asking is
165.
because staff asked the questions when the bid came in. But we've exhausted the extent of those discussions. And we're just going to have to get some more information from Mr. Boatright.
Thank you. It's already tabled.
So we're putting staff at risk.
Yes.
All right. Just want to make sure everybody's, I guess you guys are okay with that, but cool.
If that's how you want to make it portrayed, yes, we're putting staff at
Move
risk.
on.
However,
Let's move on. We voted.
we need to
Let's
make
move
sure
on.
we're doing what
We're
we can
still
do.
in discussion.
I
Safety
totally agree
and
with that.
fiscally experienced.
I totally agree. I find that unfortunate. But let's move forward.
Let's move forward, please.
And when are we going to make this decision before we go any further?
Is there any way we can,
Well, I think Ms. Terry's agreed to bring forth some documents, so how long, and then we said a call meeting, so we got to give her enough time to do what she needs to do. So how much time?
Could they approve with the ability to rescind if they're not happy with the documents?
They would have to do it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yes, but,
Which
But
is
we
still
can
put
do
us
it.
at that same
let me
we
say
can do a
again,
call.
as I said
I'm
earlier,
just
you
looking
can't,
for a compromise.
this board cannot set itself up as an evaluation committee under FTA rules and your procurement policies. You can't, you look at the document, but you can't then say, we're gonna decide which one of these.
no, I don't want to do that. I just want to understand
Todd,
what
at
I'm voting on.
At what time did we say we wanted to set ourselves as an evaluation
I
committee?
didn't use those words, but it sounds like
You
you're gonna
said you
look at
might
the
want to pick
documents.
another vendor.
You wanna look
That's
at the
exactly what
documents, you
you're
wanna
doing.
choose
What,
another
what
vendor.
exactly, no, since both of y'all want to convolute the conversation, what I exactly said was, I want a better scope of work presented to this body when we vote on financial responsibility.
It didn't
That's
come to
exactly
this
what I
body
said.
initially. It was done between board meetings.
But
The
what I said, no,
emergency
what you just said out,
procurement
what you just said out your mic is, I want to be an evaluator. I didn't say that. I said I want to be able to see the scope of work that's presented. And as a person who is responsible for the dollars here, I have the right to that.
Yes, but we don't have the right to change the vendor that they recommended.
I don't want to.
You're absolutely right, but I have a right to challenge the scope of work. And the
Then
scope
why
of
are-
work should have
then
challenged that.
Why are we delaying this process?
The scope of work didn't challenge it. What you're saying is an opinion challenged it, and that's why we're delaying it.
Then we would have to go through the whole process again.
Then it needs to be a better scope of work.
I'm not trying to get involved in the procurement process. I'm trying to understand why I'm picking a bid that's most expensive.
It's
That's
not.
it.
it's not,
It's
Well,
in the
while
middle.
I'm voting on a bid that's that's expensive.
It's more expensive
I'm
than two other
also
bids.
curious as to why the other bid is $100,000 more.
Well, they didn't pick that one, so.
But if we're saying
But
that
they picked the other one because it
They-
understood the scope
I
of
was
work.
comfortable with the reasons that they gave.
That's cool. I'm not, and I have that value opinion.
I understand.
Yeah.
And where are we right now, Ty?
I just want to be
I mean,
clear.
again, I feel like the emergency nature of this bid.
It's easy to say that.
You're saying emergency, but do we know how long the parking lot's been like
Have you
that?
been to the parking lot?
Yes, I have. And how long has it been like that? It's been like that at least a year.
And we're having accidents.
So is
I'd
it really
rather
an
not have those
emergency
accidents.
if it's been sitting like that a year? It seems like it became an emergency last year.
Is that an opinion? Do we have an expert like, what are we
Well,
trying to do here?
what is the qualifications for an expert on parking lot hazards?
I'd like to just get it done.
Ty, where does this leave us?
Yes.
Listen, let me just say this. You know, we're talking about this situation over and over again, and what's really bad, just like not right, is for people to interrupt when another person is talking. I mean, we shouldn't be doing that and allow when that person, raise your hands. We had a vote on that, a while back. Raise your hand, then the chairman will, write that down, and then he will get the next person who had his hand raised. And that's only fair to everybody on this board for not interrupting.
Thank you, B. I'd agree. Also, it is odd that you can change your vote.
No, there is provisions for it in Robert's rules.
So,
Well, you didn't change your vote, you just moved to reconsider. At this point, it's like the previous thing that we addressed, and that's a motion to table.
That's the only option we have.
Well, you can reconsider your reconsideration.
yep.
Reconsidering isn't taking the reconsideration won't take the original motion off the table.
Well, it's on your agenda. If you want it to
It has to
remain
be voted on or
in play,
tabled.
remain in process, you take a motion to table. And that means it can be brought up at the next meeting, but not beyond the next meeting. Beyond the next meeting, it would have to be a whole new motion.
So do we have a motion to table?
We have to table it again?
Yeah, because it has to be voted on this meeting or tabled to the next. There's only two options. Which means nothing gets done for the next 5 weeks.
We can't have a special call meeting to address this, or a conference call. There's got to be some way that we can.
We have to vote in person.
Special call meeting, yes, you can't vote by telephone or.
That's what I was saying. You have to do a
Well,
special call.
let's just come back next week and vote on it. Will we have the information by
I
then?
won't be in here next week.
I won't be here.
Jay won't be here. Helen won't be here. The following week is after.
And Steve
Where do we
won't
want to
be-
have the meeting?
Steve won't be back until next week.
And Steve won't be back.
He is usually in attendance at
Yeah,
these meetings
he would've been here.
to answer any of the detailed questions that the chiefs cannot, but he's scheduled off.
He's,
Is it this week, or is he
he's-
out
He's
for-
out at the bus.
He's doing the
build.
bus inspection
Yeah,
for
bus
bus
inspection.
build.
What if we did, because clearly there's I totally get you that this does not provide a lot of information for how these numbers were come to. Given the nature of this request, would we all be in favor of a motion where we do approve this today to get this very important work
Change
done?
the process.
And immediately look at how do we make sure that next time something like this happens, we do get all the information we want. And I think that is really important because you never know when something crazy is going to happen. We never know when we might need to do another emergency procurement. So I think if today we can get this done, vote on it, and then spend some good quality time hashing this out and figuring out how do we as a board get this information in the right way.
Set policy. Yeah.
Then I think that'd
The
be
policy
good
committee
for
meets next week.
staff, that'd be good for ridership, that'd be good for us,
That's-
that'd be good for.
What
think that's a lot
of
determines,
people.
what determines emergency procurement?
That's
So,
I'm
so
totally
this,
interested in that.
this
I have no
is
idea.
not technically an emergency procurement. This is an emergency because people are getting hurt.
Yeah.
It is a small purchase that does not require a formal RFP process, which can take minimum 8 and sometimes 12
12 to
weeks
16.
to complete. So the emergent nature, as described, is because people are getting hurt.
How many people have gotten hurt?
I don't have that information.
We can't say these things if we gotta have.
At least two.
About 5 or 6.
Oh, has it been more?
We
Okay.
have-
5 or
we
6.
have one
Over
out
what
of
time?
workers' comp now.
Over what time period?
I would say over the last 4 years.
Okay.
We have someone out on workers' comp today that's unable to drive.
So let's do it. And
And
I
then,
will be the
in that-
first to champion it.
This is my issue with these things, man. We do this, we table it, we have this discussion, and then 2-3 months later, a similar situation comes up, and we say the same thing. Let's go and just vote on it, all that other good stuff, and then guess what? Nothing gets fixed.
So I've
I
committed.
don't honestly remember any
Well, I do.
emergency
I do.
procurement in the last 3 years.
I do.
Do you have a specific example?
I do.
We should be.
I do.
I
It's
haven't
not a
done
specific
it
example
for
to a
3 years.
procurement, but a specific example to things that we said we didn't like here, and we said we were going to change the process, and the process didn't change much.
So let's
So
do
I'm tired
that.
of
Let's
that.
commit ourselves to doing that. But I do think this is a pretty important thing, and I would hate that.
I know it's
to
an
come
extremely
back
important thing.
A month later and it's have another person hurt.
But wouldn't you agree that we've never had this committee structure that we can look at these things and come up with something with the staff?
I have no point with it, and I'm all about it. Most of them people, they probably are out, I know personally.
Yep.
So it's not a point of that piece right there. It's a point of we have to look at the safety piece, but we also got to look at the financial responsibility piece too.
I agree. But there's a
And the safety
financial-
has more quality than the financial quality.
And there's
I want that known too.
financial aspect to the safety. I mean, we're paying somebody who's not working right now because of this.
Yeah, but that's 4 years.
Yeah, well, let's do it then.
So I've added.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't know it was over.
Yeah, I added notes to make sure and include the location of each of the vendor proposals' home office, to add a note about why a decision for or against was made, to give you additional information. And I can see where we could expand on has proven experience with similar scale concrete work with some examples, can meet FTA certifications, which
That's in the
are-
paragraph scope. I read all that.
Yeah, so we could expand on that. Like the FTA certifications is ability to pay prevailing wages per Davis Bacon, and probably 64 other things that we know they have the expertise to do. They have to certify their payroll, they have to provide the documents, so we can add that language. And then if we do all those things with pre-award authority, we can get 80 cents on the dollar from our 5339 grant.
And can we also get it to committee prior to bringing it to the board?
It was
It was
one of
brought
the
up with
items for
governance.
discussion.
Yeah, we did talk about it.
No, we're talking about as the
But we didn't-
pieces you're adding to it, the scope.
Sure,
you
it
know,
will become
can the
part of
committee
what we
see it?
give you, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We just
Can I
in the
tie that
past
to-
have not put that much information in here, and we can add it with no issue.
'Cause I think it
With
comes to
this
committee.
understanding now, I'm hardcore about it. We gotta do better. We gotta do better. I'll move for approval on it today. But I will say this.
Let's
I'm
tie
say
that
this.
in. To the
I'll move for approval today. I can do this, boss?
You can move, yeah, sure.
Okay, making sure. I move for approval today. Only reason why I'm doing that is based on, I won't even go into the conversation. I move for approval today, and I'll make the discussion.
But now we got to go back and undo.
No,
the change.
No, we don't.
There's
We
nothing to
good.
undo.
We good.
I got you, Doc, I got it.
Wipe
I
the
got it.
slate
I can
clean.
We're
move
making
forward.
a new,
So
it's a
we
new
good.
motion.
I move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
With point of discussion now. I want to make sure it's understood. Emergency procurements, from now on, it better have a better scope of work. It needs to have a better scope of work. Because we don't need to be moving forward, because we spent 30 minutes talking about this. But if we had a better scope of work to eliminate those last two partners, we wouldn't even have this discussion.
Well, we're assuming we didn't have a proper scope of work. We don't know that because the person who did it isn't here.
So we want to go back into that conversation, or do you want to just leave it alone, bro?
Let Terry
Great.
finish his-
Come on, Mike.
We're gonna-
We can go back into this conversation.
Call the question.
Let's vote.
I call the question.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
can come to the meeting,
All in
we
favor?
can change the policy.
Mike,
I call the question.
See, I'm trying.
Please.
No, you're trying to get what you want.
No, what
I
I'm trying,
call the
no, what
question.
I'm trying to do is make
And
sure that.
We already said
No,
that
sir.
we will bring it to the policy committee next week, and
No,
we
sir.
can bring in Steve when he's available,
No,
because
sir.
his opinion is the one we're questioning.
No, sir. No, sir.
How do we not
Mr.
bring him in
Chairman,
and ask
I
him?
call the question.
The
The
chairman.
question's called.
Well,
It's about the
question is
scope,
called.
man.
That cuts off discussion.
Cuts off discussion.
Come on, man.
Let's vote. All those in favor?
Helen had a question.
I sure did. I
She
had
was
my
really
hand up.
politely waiting to be called on.
And the motion was called, which is Robert's Rules of Order. So we have to vote.
No,
But
she has
got
a point.
discussion. She's got a discussion point.
Ty, what happens when someone calls the motion? All discussion ends?
It's supposed to, yes, but if there was an outstanding question in line.
If her question was heavy for his motion,
I think it was.
Very quickly, I would like for the policy committee to review our policies on evaluating firms. I don't think it's this board's job to question contractors or who we pick. It's the process. This board sets policy and procedure, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
okay.
But that's,
And that
yeah.
was question the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm questioning the process. I didn't
Right.
question the.
Right.
Understand, but that
okay.
needs to go to the policy committee and change.
We're done with discussion.
Okay.
You made your point. You called the motion. Let's vote. All those in favor of awarding to ABC?
Tabitha's not in the room.
She don't have to be.
No. She left during the meeting. It's not my problem.
What was it?
She don't have to be in the room.
7.
You just have votes to say Tabitha didn't participate in the vote.
She'll be out of it.
All right, let's go to Executive Director's report.
This is the executive director's report, the new board package, as well as the service delivery report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I like that the heat map is back.
What now?
Heat map.
I know, that one, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always get
Yeah,
forgotten.
so, you stole my
7-0, yeah. Do we have no on the Executive Director?
And service delivery.
Okay.
I combined them.
No questions for Mike? Patricia, you're up finally.
Okay, I just wanted to say that the system development team has a wonderful report in your board packet. Hopefully you all will take an opportunity to peruse it. And our marketing effort to attract more young people to our system, our poetry in motion campaign is going very well. We have almost 60 poems from about 12 schools, and we still have time for more, so that's going well. And then we are working on an implementation plan regarding mobile ticketing so that we can be ready to launch that in April. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Give me 1 second, I'm thumbing through all these pages. Because I had a question on ridership, and I don't know where I saw it in
It's at the end of my financial update.
Thank you.
Dr. Holt.
the... All right, Terry, you're up.
Ready? All right, so the financial update is in your package. It also presents the financial operating results for our operating fund for January and year-to-date through January, which is 7 months in. We have located what used to be behind the service delivery report, our ridership report that shows the colored graphs and the passenger per hours, per route, and per type at the end of my financial update. Staff has really been taking a deep dive into ridership and how it relates to passenger per hour as evidence and preparation for Ms. Dice's presentation to our committee and also the board today. And when I look at the very last page, which is the raw data, it's interesting to see that total ridership is up year over year, and it's being driven by the foresight. You can see that core routes is down 4.6, but combined with the increase in the dot shuttle, overall, our ridership is up. And the ridership numbers don't exactly correlate with the passenger per hour numbers, and we're taking a deep look at that. Are we running more hours and having the same number of passengers? Are we running less hours and less people? The passenger per hour calculation is something we're taking another look at, and we will report back any significant findings as we move forward month to month. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have two.
Okay.
On the numbers for the monthly ridership for January, why are there such huge drops on West Gwinnett and Hudson? We're talking about 33%, a 42% drop on West Gwinnett from 15 to 8.
Have you seen all that construction
You
going on?
talking passenger
Yeah,
per hour?
it's a lot of-
Yeah, so I was looking at ridership.
No, it's on there.
It's still there.
This is where it is.
Percentage to revenue per hours,
42%
percentage
loss,
change.
33% loss. We got to figure out why that's happening.
I think that construction, you've seen it, it's just horrible.
Well, it looks like we increased revenue hours and ridership stayed the same, and boom.
Yeah, so,
But it's being pushed up by other services. It's not being pushed, it's being pushed down by fixed, up by ferry and shuttle.
Core, yeah.
Or core routes, a
Your ferry routes
42%
will-
drop in the core route is bad.
I think that's what
31% in Coffee Bluff. I don't know of any reason Coffee Bluff would be a problem. 31.2% drop.
On Coffee
Well,
Bluff.
that's enough, I'm sorry.
That's a decrease, they added one.
I'm looking at the 42.7 drop, the 33.7 drop. Those are significant drops on individual routes.
Right,
We
and
need
we-
to have
Each
reasons.
rider.
and when you look at Coffee Bluff, you have to kind of
Yeah,
put it
they
in the
went-
framework of total riders.
Yeah,
Again,
one
We've got
per- one other person got on
357,
for the
so
week.
2 people didn't ride, and the percentage is gonna be pretty high.
Those
But we
pass-
can look
Even on-
into it, yes,
Even
sir.
on the monthly ridership report, the 3B was always second. Now it's down to like 8 on the total at 15.2. It dropped below Waters, Silk Hope, and Skidaway. That was always the number 2 core route. And it dropped significantly.
So
One drop.
ridership
That's the
is,
issue.
in ridership, it's still the same. So that's an
Right.
indication that it's not less people riding the bus, it's the
That's-
amount of time it takes us to run the route, whether it's going up or down, that's driving the statistic. So we can look at that and
Yeah,
see
because
what's
that,
going on.
that looks bad. And what was this spike in July, August, and September of
Or
last
just
year?
August.
I mean, there's massive spikes on some of these routes. I don't understand how that happened.
Those were the few days that we ran fare-free and dead-ended into the evacuation center for the hurricane. And I would imagine that more people ran those days, rode the bus those days because they were trying to get to the evacuation center and they didn't have to pay.
No.
That's
Maybe
kind of
that
that period.
explains why we need to consider fare-free. Because ridership. went
That's
Or,
one of the
constant
reasons for
first
that
class.
spike. Those were the days that we
They're
were
all
running
riding when it's fare-free.
Yeah.
You sound like me.
No, I can't approve fare-free. We don't have the revenues to cover it. All right, that's all I had.
I have a question.
Good.
Helen.
Helen was up first. I saw her.
Terry, I have a question for you. You're saying that overall ridership is up, but I'm looking at these monthly figures that just keep saying negative, negative, negative.
Right, so overall, we're up 2% in number of riders. When you look at core, we're down 4.6. So the passenger per hour that the board adopted as our standard statistic for this piece of information is different than total ridership. Total ridership's up year over year, but it's because of the dock. If you pull all of those agency services out, we're still experiencing a 4.6% decrease in riders.
That comment there.
But the percentages you're seeing at the front of the report and in the service delivery are based on passengers per hour, and there's other factors. It could be the length of time it's taken of us to run the route, which would tie into the construction, or deviations that have to be made for other reasons, or it could be the actual number of passengers. The numerator or the denominator could change, and we'll look into what we can identify that's going on.
I just really want to know how we're doing. I mean, if we're still in a decline, I mean, I'm appreciative of DOT and everything else, but it's free. I'm trying to figure out how this organization is doing.
What we define as our core routes, we are down 4% year over year.
Okay, that's what I was afraid of.
4.6, rounds to 5.
And that's what Bren's presentation was about. That's a nationwide trend. It's not just us.
I understand, but I just need to know.
In the ridership report that used to be behind Michael's statistics is behind the financial update, and there's the data on the very last page of that. That'll give you the total ridership by category.
Dr. Evans?
Now, I say this as a budget question. We were talking about consulting, and I saw there's a line item. We paid, what, $20,000 for a consultant? Who's that?
I need some more information.
Well, on your budget sheet, there's a line item that says $20,000 for consultant.
Under what?
Under what
I
department?
lost my page. I don't know, but
Okay.
well, let me ask this question since we don't know where it is. How many paid consultants we currently have, and what are they consulting for? I guess that's a better
varies
question.
depending on what month we're in. I don't have the current number off the top of my head.
We've already asked for that sheet.
And
She
I'm
said
going
she
to
did it to us.
give it to the board.
Because there was a line item in the budget.
And can we have it going back?
If you're looking at the detail budget, there's a column that says additional information justification, and there'll be a description of what that money is for. If you can tell me what department and what account, I can do that research and just give you the answer.
But better still, just give us
A list of consultants.
Yeah.
Could that also be a placeholder in the budget?
We
We
always.
have some placeholders in the budget where money's put in the event that we need it and may not use it?
Yeah,
Okay, so it could be that too, if we knew exactly.
I
what
just
it was.
need to know the account, and I can
Exactly.
tell what department submitted the request.
So can you give us a
And-
listing of them so we know what account to give?
Yes.
We can talk about it on Wednesday during the budget workshop rather than have that here.
I wanted to know where we are with additional shelters. And did we think about, have we approached businesses to see if they want to pay for a shelter, to sponsor a shelter? It's gonna be summertime soon, it's raining like a monsoon. How are we with shelters?
You know, business.
That's still old business. We've been talking about that previously. Mike?
Is that an old business?
It wasn't listed, but it certainly is old business.
We'll just wait 5 minutes, maybe we won't.
So we have not approached any vendors or any businesses on shelters. We do have, we did purchase shelters. We have a list that follows Title VI and the equity analysis on disparate impact on where these shelters will go based on ridership numbers and Title VI, and I believe that list has been generated. So
Right, but we specifically delineated Abercorn as a prime piece of real estate to get sponsors for shelters. Because those businesses benefit from people getting off the bus and coming to them. And there are several sticks in the ground where people wait to get the bus.
But I think we gotta look at the primary decision maker for it will be from ridership analysis in Title VI.
You don't have to
And
look at
then-
that on Abercorn.
But
On
I think we
Abercorn,
do.
a business can sponsor a shelter.
But just because a business wants to doesn't mean we can give them one. Because we first have to verify that it's a Title VI, if
And
that's
it's
an equitable
doable. They have to
location.
own the land. A lot of
I think
Abercorn
you guys
has
the
that
first
little
one,
island
and then the second
off
one.
the
Right,
side
but we
road there.
had this whole discussion about the ones that are on property and allowing businesses to put shelters on those stops.
We have to take a look at the advertising policy on that as well. Because the board did pass an advertising policy a couple of years ago.
That was
prohibits-
passed because of one agenda for one board member. It can be adjusted, redone, rescinded, amended, or whatever. There's no reason why we can't approach businesses that currently have a bus stop in front of their business on a strip of land that they own and ask them to sponsor a shelter.
But first, we have to make sure that where they're putting it is both.
It's other standards, it's not just where they want it, it's
Right.
where it
Yes.
can go. Public's on.
You already have a stick there.
So the disparate
Yeah, because
impact
there's no
risk.
pad requirement. You have to have 6x12 pads, you have to have handicap access, you need
But
sidewalks.
if it's on their property and they want to sponsor it, then they can make it handicap accessible, pour a pad.
Can they do that, Ty, is the question.
If it's on their
Well,
property, can't they?
It
Build
raises
it to our
questions
specifications?
of risk of liability or indemnifications.
And then we're gonna have a bidding war if someone wants it more than somebody else.
But again, as
That's a
Clinton said,
possibility.
that there are other regulations that require you to do an analysis.
But that's
about where it's
for
equitable.
shelters that we pay for. Is that not correct?
It's for all allocation resources, including contributions, which another business paying for the shelter would be a contribution to that.
So you're saying that if a business wanted to pay for a shelter that they allowed us to put a stick in the ground for, but it needs to go, say it needs to go on the west side because that's where we decided the next bus stop has to go, they can't put a shelter on their property?
Not without a determination that examines whether or not there's a disparate economic impact. And the determination can of course be overridden, and then the risk is that there will be a finding of noncompliance with Title VI monitoring procedures. So yes, they can do it, but it's recorded as a contribution to CAT in our fund balance, and because it's a contribution and a revenue, we have to follow the same rules, regulations, and processes as if we paid for it ourselves or if we paid for it with grant money.
That's what we always get.
Yeah, but I asked for this a while ago. You know, I don't know how any business on Abercorn is going to justify, depressed economic anything on Abercorn. But we have several bus stops that's just a stick in the ground. We don't have we don't have an umbrella, we don't have
There's
any.
I don't have any
all
out in
over
my
the city.
district.
I understand that,
I have a
but
stick
you
by
have
mine.
businesses on Abercorn who can afford to put a shelter.
And Walmart did, for their employees. They bought and paid for it.
Right.
Can't other people do it?
So why can't other people do it?
No one says they can. If they call us and say
Y'all
they
just
want to
got
pay
to
for a
explain it to me
shelter.
why they can't do it.
can
They
they-
just
can
spent
they-
5 minutes explaining to me
If
why
it-
it can't be
if
done.
If they
We can
call
do
and
it,
ask us
but
if
we
they can
have
get
to
a
do
shelter,
our
we
piece
will
first.
evaluate it whether or not it's doable.
Well, have we advised them that they can do that?
We could consider that a stakeholder committee, because that would be a great.
I thought we did that last year when the suggestion came up.
Well, we didn't have a stakeholder committee then. I think we should look into it. I mean, I've got a lot of concerns as sort of, is that something we should put time into? But I think we should, let's
Well,
discuss
I
it
think
next
that
week.
if you were a mama with 3 or 4 kids and a baby stroller, and you were standing on a stick with a stick in the ground, you might want to think more about it.
I also know that if I was a business owner, I probably wouldn't. So I think there's a lot of discussion we got to have there. Yeah, totally. But if you own one, go buy one. But,
And I'm a
but
business
we can't
owner.
force businesses to do it.
But there
let's
are a lot of
investigate.
businesses who might think it's a pretty decent idea when they're sitting there watching these people drowning in the rain.
I think we should do it.
Bring it forward.
We can do it at stakeholder committee.
Yeah, anybody who wants it, if it meets the FTA requirements, yeah.
So can we draft up a statement, official statement stating what
Do you
we
want to
can and
solicit
cannot do?
businesses? Are we,
What we can
is
and
that
cannot
what we're
do.
doing?
That would be
Yes.
our conversation.
I'm writing down another note. I'm taking notes on your questions. We will research for this particular purpose and report back.
I mean, do we
The
tell
note
them
I'm
we're not
making
gonna
is,
do it, you
can we
have to buy it?
solicit
I
as a
mean, where are we
governmental
gonna
authority
have
contributions?
We tell them
Right.
that we don't have the money.
I'm just trying to answer.
And we're looking for people to sponsor building a shelter if they have a stick in front of their building. Why am I saying stick? A pole.
Well, there's a lot of them, unfortunately.
So we're going to look into promoting private businesses to upgrade bus stops in proximity to their location.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
as a contribution to the community.
I think that sounds great.
I think it sounds great too. I thought it was great when I said it last time.
But it still has to meet the requirements for us to maintain and cover.
I
So
don't think that they
if
would
they
have a
can
problem
ask-
with that.
Yeah, they can ask. I mean, I'm looking at the Publix.
I
where
think that
it's
we
a-
should just
a
tell
stick and a
them,
bench,
these are the
no top.
requirements. If you want to build a shelter, it's going to cost you approximately this amount. It's got to meet these requirements. It's got to be made out of these materials. And, you know,
They just need to
Yeah,
fund it, we'll take care of
and
it.
for a reference point, it's possible that the work you have to do beforehand would say, oh, business XYZ, we appreciate the contribution, but our analysis shows we've got to put this shelter you're paying for down in front of your competitor. Is that okay with you? So that's just the other side of the spectrum, right?
well, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to put it in front of their competitors.
But she's
Well,
just
if the
breaking
analysis
down what
shows
the
we
analysis
should,
says.
then that's
Right.
where the risk comes.
Well,
It's
if
a front-end analysis, and we can't just do it regardless without the risk.
Well, then I think they have the right of refusal. Because if I'm putting one in front of my building, I'm certainly not going to put it across the street for somebody else to get the benefit.
Understood.
I mean, for my business.
Right.
You know, unless I just want to donate. And maybe there's some charitable organizations here who will donate one any place.
I can say that in the past, when we've discussed this with businesses, there has been some pushback from the businesses because they're concerned about loitering and litter and homeless people lying on the benches, occupying the shelters, and they said, no, we don't want that on our business.
But it's no,
Well, I
but
don't
it's
know
no
if
different from that.
Abercrombie-
It's no different from them sitting on the cart
Yep.
that they pull from the grocery store and still littering the same areas where there's
Yeah,
a trash can.
because they sitting in the middle of the median now with a dog and a sign and a bicycle.
Yeah.
But on Abercorn, where there's so much police presence, I'm sure if they see somebody
That's
set
where
up,
most of the beggars are. I get
I
down
know,
that
but
road
if
every
you,
day.
but I'm sure that if they see somebody set up camp inside of a structure, they're gonna go move them around because the structure that's in front of the JEA, they don't let them stay in there. I've seen the police stop and ask them to move.
Can we all have a
We
conversation?
moved that to go to committee. I don't know where else we want to go with it.
It's just,
It's not on the agenda.
No. New business.
but it is an old business.
Still has to be listed technically to discuss it. I just allowed it because someone asked.
So in new business, we can discuss openly because it doesn't have to be on the new business, right?
No, it has to be on the agenda. You would have to move to amend
Amend the
the
agenda.
agenda by suspension of the rules to add something new to the agenda.
Well, the bus
I'll be
shelters
stipend
was-
today. I
The
ain't
bus
got no
shelters
fight
was,
with that.
no, I think we were talking about.
It's a new business now you're talking about. It's new business.
And there is no listed new business. Anybody need to amend the agenda to add new business?
I'm tired.
No? Motion to adjourn.
So.
Good, well, you're gonna have a home shorthand. Get more paper.
You're right.
Oh.